Sarah, I bought a Blue Yeti.
Apparently, it didn't transition for me. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Costog Questions. I don't know why my go live button didn't transition the scene, but we're here. Everything's a little jank right now, so that's fine. It's fine.
We love quarantine. Just kidding.
How's everyone doing today? Welcome back to this show. It's been a bit, and also it's been like a year, just a little bit over a year. Regan and Scone, since we last had you on.
A year?
What?
Yeah, it's been a year.
What? No.
Really?
Amazing how much has changed since then.
What the fuck is time?
Yeah, it's yeah. I was looking at it and I'm like, that's been a year. Part of me is just like, oh, was that like that long ago? And part of me is like,
oh my god, the cat's face. Oh my god.
Finny? Can we like zoom in on Finny?
Oh my god.
We can do that.
He has put on the most quarantine weight of everyone in the household.
Oh, look at that sleepy face.
Oh my god, that much more, but he's definitely like gotten a little like lush.
He's gotten chunky.
He's sitting so still.
Oh, is he actually getting asleep? This is how he like.
Yeah, he's asleep.
But his head is like up.
He's like a sleepy teenager, and he'll just fall asleep like that all the time.
That's so funny. Oh my god, that's so cute. Oh my god.
Well, Regan Scone, welcome back to Costog Questions. For those of you who do not know who these two wonderful humans are,
fucking unfortunate.
That's sad, but now we can fix that. Regan and Scone are a cosplay couple from Boston. They gosh, I can't remember if last time, yeah, you would have just been coming off of winning the 2019 Crown Championship. That would have just happened, I want to say. Yeah, it's
time makes fools of us all.
Real.
Yeah, and then let's kind of get some. I just stole like a lot of your most recent Instagram posts, so people can kind of get a taste of everything that you've done.
Oh, this is new.
Yeah, I know. I did some new stuff for this. How about that? I've been fighting with OBS the past like couple of days trying to get cool new stuff for it, but here we are. Hopefully this is playing nice. Who knows? It'll probably break halfway through because
fine.
Now
it works for this moment, and that's what matters. So you might wonder, what is Costog Questions? So this is our show where we kind of it's like half our shoot the shit show and half our like Q&A show. So for the first hour or so here, we're gonna kind of dive into some topics that I've set up for us ahead of time, and then for the second hour, we're gonna talk about some of your questions that you guys post in chat. So if there's anything that you guys want to ask Cowbutt Crunchies or Sarah and I, like, hold on to those. We will dig into those later, but make sure you save them and do not forget them, because we will be answering your questions in the second half. But yeah, so before we get into the meat of the stream, a couple things that I want to go over. One, if there's any guests you'd like to see on this stream, or really any of the variety of streams that I've got going on here, because we got a bunch of different things rolling around over here, please let me know. I have a specific submission form for the critiques, but I should probably put that, like, stop that from posting, because the critiques right now are on hold for here until I don't know. Not because I don't like doing them, but if you guys haven't noticed, there's not too many people taking new photos at the moment, and felt a little weird to try and
really, I had no idea.
Critique show on people's photography when people don't have all that much new photo work to post. So I'm putting the critiques on hold. I don't know when those are gonna come back. But to replace
2050.
probably not wrong. But to replace those, we have a show called Costog Challenge that we have set up. So that show is where Sarah and I, and then one guest photographer, will be editing the same photos at the same time live on stream. We've got 30 minutes per photo to edit, and it's absolute chaos. And hopefully next episode will not be technical difficulties.
Hopefully my setup will work, but according to Verizon, it's still fucking down in the DMV.
I want to watch Sarah edit a photo. I've never gotten to see that.
Yeah, we only
no one has.
Yeah. Well, the humorous part there, Regan, is that our first episode of that was 2 weeks ago, and
roughly.
We had technical difficulties, and you could see my screen, you could see Neil's screen, but we couldn't get Sarah's to work for whatever reason. So the world. Well,
there's a huge Verizon. There's a huge Verizon outage in the DMV area, so it's still happening apparently. Last I checked. So great.
Wow. Whoops. I accidentally forgot to change that. As a joke, I have the sub text to speech in German. So yo, Lou, thanks for that sub. Appreciate it, dude.
Wait, what?
So I added text to speech if you sub or donate bits, so it'll read your message. But I have it in German right now because why not?
Oh, well, obviously I can't hear it.
Yeah, you guys can't hear it because you aren't watching the Twitch stream. Damn it. I at some point I want to be able to have it so you guys can hear it, but I don't quite know how I'm going to do that yet. That's
Change it to Japanese. Gotta get real weeb up in here.
I don't want to be like I don't want to be like all the other weebs, Sarah.
Whatever. Who gives a shit?
So as I was going to say, the next episode of Costog Challenge is going to be happening on the 18th. So that's 1 week from today. And we will be having Sono Photos, or for those of you who know him, David, on for that episode. So that should be a fun time. Hopefully,
can't wait to learn all his tricks.
Free.
I love David.
Yeah,
we love David in this house.
Yeah, so that should be a really fun time. Speaking of future streams, my wife and I will be doing a co-op stream this Thursday. Not the DDR one. We're doing the gaming, and then DDR one is going to be after that. So we're trying to figure out what date we want to do that. For those of you who were there for our charity stream, those were the incentives. We had a co-op stream and then a charity stream, or a co-op stream and a DDR stream. So both of those were met. So the co-op stream is happening this Thursday at 7 p.m. here on Twitch, 7 p.m. Central, I should say. And then DDR stream is it's either happening sometime this month or it's happening very early next month. We just need to figure out how we can fit it into the kind of stream schedule I've going. But I promise you it's happening very soon. I've been working on setting up some more stuff for it. That should be hilarious and fun. But yeah, make sure to tune in for those. And then, as always, if you enjoy the stream, please consider donating or subscribing. We're in a weird place right now, and social media is kind of borked. So, if you have the means to support us, that way, that's awesome. But if you don't, just tell a friend about the stream. I'd really appreciate it if you did. I don't expect that anyone to donate or subscribe. But if you have Amazon Prime, that means you have Twitch Prime, which means you have one free sub per month to give to whichever streamer you'd like. If you have that available, I'd appreciate it if you could give it here. But if you don't spend that sub here, please just use it. Take the time, set up your Twitch so that you can give that stream, because it's literally Amazon is giving you free money to give to whichever streamer. So just do it. Just do it.
Yep.
If not here, do it somewhere. Yeah. Hey everyone in chat. Alligator, you actually have internet? I was seeing there have been some ridiculous storms and outages in the Midwest this past day. So
I saw that. It's crazy.
It's been a time.
We had some last week.
Yeah. So before we jump into it, I just wanted to bring this up briefly. So this, I don't remember if it was this week or late last week, but sadly,
it was announced last week.
Okay, last week. So last week, we lost a member of the cosplay photography community in Hanson. If you guys don't know Hanson, he's a cosplay photographer on the East Coast. I only got to meet him in passing once, and then kind of was in some chats, but every time I met him, he was just a wonderful person. Bit quiet, but just kind of was a very positive person. And from everything I know from other friends, especially one of his best friends, which was David, who we're having on next week, he was just an incredible human. And I just kind of wanted to give our condolences to Hanson and kind of, grieve that we lost a member of the community, especially in this period of time. It's super sad, and I didn't want to not mention it because I think it's important to, our community in the grand scheme of things is so small, and to not bring it up felt I don't want to say wrong, but yeah. So if you know him, I'm sorry for your loss, and just the loss of the cosplay community in itself. It's a solid photographer and a great person, so he will be. And with that, let's try and transition and bring things up a bit here and dive into the meat of this stream here. So, Cowbutt Crunchies. How about you two give me the brief explanation of who you guys are for those few people who do not know who the heck you guys are.
So we're married. We're two married cosplayers from Boston, and we do heavy craftsmanship and cosplay education. And Regan was the 2019 world champion of cosplay. Woo-hoo. And we mostly go to East Coast cons, but we do travel around. So
we started trying to travel. I've been trying to get to Emerald City for 2 years now. I've bought a badge twice. Maybe it will happen next year. I don't know. We'll freaking see. I also wrote a book at the end of last year, early this year. If anyone is interested in extreme wig styling, that's available in soft cover and online.
Awesome. So there's been something that... Sorry, I need to put on a headband. Someone used the Fighting Dreamers perk.
Already?
I gotta put on my Naruto headband. You guys don't know.
Weebs.
You can use your channel.
Weebs.
Naruto is a dirty word in this house.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. I did not mean to offend.
No, that's all right. Okay. Here's the problem with Naruto. The first thing we were ever shown of Naruto was Rock Lee dropping the weights, and immediately we were just like, "What's the point of watching literally anything else? We've already watched the best."
Okay, you're valid.
That show.
You are 100% valid.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that scene's iconic.
So good. It was so I didn't know any of the characters, and I was so invested in it. It was so good. And then they were like, "Well, let's watch the first episode now." And it was like Naruto whining, and I was like, "No, I'm not here for the rest of this show." You can rewatch Rock Lee dropping the weights as many times as you want.
But they were like, "Okay, let's try and think of something that's maybe as good to show." And they pulled up the scene with Sasuke and his brother, and we're just like, "No, this is shit. Just go back to Rock Lee."
Oh man, that is just cold hard truth.
Point being is, if you want to make me wear this, I will wear it for 15 minutes if you use your channel points. Which Jack just did. So, Regan, Scone, I need to know, you were recently on ABC on a game show. What was it? To Tell the Truth? I think that's what I have in my notes.
Yeah, no, that's right.
You guys need to tell me about this, because I'm like, what the heck? How'd this happen? What was it like? Where did this come from?
It was really out of the blue, actually. Like I had many years ago, I did apply to that reality TV show, but that's the only thing I've ever auditioned for, and that didn't go anywhere. But yeah, we got an email from, I guess, their casting team, in June of last year, asking if we would be interested in appearing on their show. And what it is I had not heard of it before, but apparently a lot of people have. A really surprising amount of people said, "Oh yeah, I saw this when it aired," and I was like, "Who the hell watches primetime ABC.
Well,
but I guess
so
a lot.
It was an old show in the 60s because when I told my mom about it, she was like, "Oh, I loved that show as a kid." And then they brought it back recently because they're rebooting all the like classic TV game shows that they have the rights to. And I think at least a couple of the people who messaged us afterwards was like, "I was watching it with my mom." So I think it's a good watch with your mom show.
Oh, okay.
Dead.
Yeah, so they brought it back like 5 years ago. And the gist is you have a celebrity panel of like 4 celebrities. And they bring on like 5 sets of 3 people. And the 3 people all claim to be somebody. So like, for instance, they all say, I voiced Siri. I did the voice for Siri. And then the celebrity panel has to ask different questions. And 2 of them are liars. And one of them is that the actual person and they tell the truth about things. And it's up to the panel to try and figure out who the actual real voice of Siri is. And so it's usually someone who has like a very strange job or a very strange story or just something like interesting. Like on my show, there was a really funny guy who was an Olympic diver. And then there was like a yo-yo champion, somebody who like got almost killed by like a decapitated snakehead was on there. But yeah, so I'm assuming they reached out because of C2E2 and winning the crown, because I specifically went on as a cosplay champion. So I think they must have just gotten my name from that. And we both auditioned, but I think the idea of having 6 people up there all in cosplay was just too much to handle. And so it was just me who went there, and I brought down a whole bunch of my costumes, and basically dressed everyone up. I didn't do the dressing. They did the dressing of everybody. And it was really, really fun. It was pretty cool. I'd done like some amateur filming before, but not like any professional stuff. So it was really neat. The stage was really cool. Like the whole thing was really, really fun. But yeah, it was great. I had a good time.
That is so interesting that ended up happening that way. It's just like, okay then. Who could have guessed? It is interesting that kind of came from that cosplay show that was that happened. I'd forgotten that was a thing, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I don't think that's where they got my name, but like we definitely went through like an audition process like that, which is kind of why it reminded me of it. I think whoever finds the people just goes on the internet and tries to find unusual stuff, and maybe they thought, it would be fun if we had cosplayers up there and everyone was in cosplay, and that would be a really fun thing. Who's a cosplayer we can bring? And I must have gotten lucky because they went and they looked for last year's crown winner.
I love that you wore like your biggest costume, but I guess you wore the costume that won. But still, I was like, oh my god,
well,
you would wear that huge thing.
No, okay, the Necromancer is huge, but packs down really well and is really, really comfortable. And what's funny is I was in it. I was in the whole thing with the bolero, and they dressed. So the imposters were Paul Rubin, Pee Wee Herman, who's doing his own thing, and an actress who is like 5 foot nothing, like tiny girl.
So my size.
Very, very small. And they dressed her in Loki, and she was all done. And then like the manager came out and he looked at the 2 of us and just like, you looked so much bigger than her. This is not going to work. And so I had to take off the bolero, and then they teased the hell out of my Loki wig to try and make her look bigger. Like it was a whole process.
Huh.
Oh my god, that's great.
That's so interesting. These are the things that I would never have thought about ever.
Yeah.
And so on I had a clip. I was so infuriated. I was trying to live stream the clip last week. But Hulu, I guess, only has 4 episodes up at a time, so they took it down. And so I was like super angry. I could only find like a little bit of it to stream. I actually finally got the dang thing today. That's like what this is. So I have the whole episode.
My mom still had it saved on her TiVo and was like, "I'll send you it on a thumb drive from my TiVo from
oh my god,
3 months ago."
I was unaware TiVo was still a thing.
I was like, TiVo's still alive.
Yup. But anyway, thank you, TiVo, because now I have it. But so I don't even, what the hell, what was I going to say? You interrupted me, and now I've literally forgotten what I was going to say.
We're talking about TiVo, Necromancer.
Loki teased hair. Sizes.
Yeah, Loki teased hair. Crazy shit.
Oh, you can stream it now, for reals.
It's gone.
For real, instead of fake.
Fake.
Oh yeah, okay. Now I remember what I was going to say. So on the actual thing, when they were asking questions, I was being my normal serious self, like maybe more so than usual, because I had been specifically instructed to like not go into great detail and be like very friendly and humorous, because otherwise that'd be very obvious that it was me.
Give it away.
Yeah, the majority of we got there at 12. We didn't film until 5, and almost the entire time was spent like with them coaching the imposters, because apparently every once in a while people just go on and the panel goes, "Hey, are you the liar?" And they go, "Yeah, I'm the liar." Like, so like an idiot. So I go on and I'm like dead ass serious. And immediately the entire panel is, well, like, that can't possibly be a cosplayer. Cosplayers are silly and weird. It's got to be the other girl.
God damn it.
So just immediately they all start ignoring me. But then at the very end, but at the very end, after the credits, after they stopped, it was really nice, because like everyone came over and said hi. And Jason Alexander comes up and he says, "Well, I assumed you were a liar because you said you made all of these. And I didn't think that was possible."
Yo,
because they look too professional.
For real.
Wow.
Too good.
It's like you don't.
I can't wait to watch somehow.
Yeah.
Well, I'll put it on YouTube because I guess they don't care. So I'll just upload it there now that I have it.
Hell yeah.
Good to know. Yeah, that is so interesting. Okay, let's transition over to this next topic here, which is going to be reassessing your interests. What do I mean by that? So,
I was like, what?
Quarantine life has caused us to kind of have to pull back from a lot of things. And I mean, the main topic here would be both cosplay and cosplay photography, conventions, that kind of stuff, but also other things in our life, but mainly focus on cosplay and conventions. How has this kind of time off from all of that changed how you view certain aspects of cosplay or cosplay photography, and how has that made you reassess what you enjoy or what you prioritize in those specific things?
Well, I'll start.
Go ahead, Sarah.
I think it's made me realize, I think I was like, I mean, I say this like every stream, I feel like, but I felt like I was struggling with like why I cosplay like at all. Like I felt like because in the surge of like social media, which I think everyone knows by now that I have like a very mixed feelings about social media, it being great, but also it being kind of like the toxic energy that we don't really need in this community. And I think because of that, I was kind of struggling with like, why was I even cosplaying anymore? Because I felt like it was more just to like produce content because I felt like I had to, which, you know, beginning of last year, I kind of like realized like I don't really give a shit about producing content every day and posting every day, like whatever. But quarantine has definitely made me like kind of like sit back, because I haven't really been doing any cosplay like at all. Like my sewing machine has not been touched. I've put on one cosplay. I don't even wear makeup. Like I don't do anything related to it really at all right now. And I was like, wow, I wasted a lot of time stressing over like really trivial things that I think if I had just like taken a step back to like when I started like almost 10 years ago, I think I would be enjoying the hobby a lot more. And now taking a break from it, I really miss it, because the thing that I miss most about the cosplay stuff is, I mean, I like the crafting component, but a big part of it for me is like seeing my friends and forming memories with them. And now that we can't really do that because we're in quarantine, that kind of really sucks. So it definitely has helped me like reevaluate like why I do it and what I strive to get out of it versus where I was maybe a little over a year ago, where mentally I was like, you know, I was driven by numbers that don't mean anything at the end of the day. And I wish I had wasted less time worrying about that crap instead of, I don't know. I felt like I wasted a lot of my time, which is like kind of sad and that's kind of negative, but it's true. But I'm glad I'm at least realizing it now, so I can like reshift my focus once this goddamn disaster dumpster fire is over.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel like we need like a new social media channel where there are no numbers. Where like you don't even know how many people are. It's like what's called FriendsNet, and you just use it to actually make friends with people, because like that's what social media is good at.
Yeah.
And it's nice to like meet people who are across the world and you're only going to see once a year at cons. But like, yeah, the whole numbers crunching and content producing is so fucking obnoxious.
Yeah. I know for me, like, it's kind of brought into to highlight how much like the friend aspect is important to me. Just
I
like,
want to touch on that after you're done.
oh yeah, it's insane like how absolutely much that just literally just being able to go and see friends, like, you know, a lot of cons a lot of friends I only see at cons like once a year. So that's a big deal. But then, you know, you'd think only once a year. Well, if you were only going to see a friend once a year, not seeing them in a year, what's the, you know, is it really that big of a difference? But I think part of that was it made those interactions so special. And when you have that specialness removed, those people that you rarely get to see, you know, even if it is one time, removing that one time is just like makes it feel so much more of a impact. I don't know if I'm explaining that in a way that makes sense, but because like I know for me, just like that is such a huge part of cons, is just getting to see those people. And you know, for East Coast cons, like I'm not going to be able to see pretty much any of my friends on the East Coast for a while, and that specialness is hugely important in that.
It sucks. What I was gonna say is that and I don't mean anything negative. I mean, or anything bad about people who do this like a lot more than I do. But I mentioned that I did my first self shoot like a couple weeks ago, and I'm not gonna lie, I was super unsatisfied by the end of it. Not because that the photos I got weren't good. It's just the experience was so underwhelming, and I guess I didn't realize how much I missed the collaboration and even just like communicating with your photographer, or even just having like Joe, he'll come with me a lot. And like, even if like, and I'm shooting with like Neil or something, and we already have what we're doing, like we already have our idea set. So it's like, I'm not even communicating with Neil, but it's just like being around like Neil and Joe at the same time and just kind of like absorbing off their energy. And then Joe telling me my post sucks, and he comes up and fixes my costume for like 50 fucking minutes. Like, I don't know. I just, every time I like release I use the remote thingy for the camera, I just was like, this is just so lame. Like, I mean, and like I said, I don't mean any ill will for people who do this, because I know a lot of people rely on self shooting for content, but I think for me, it made me realize how much the collaboration aspect of working with photographers is just so important for me to feel like any kind of like accomplishment, I guess, from doing it. I don't know. I
feel like having your friends there makes the difference between like work and fun. And like, I don't want cosplay to be work. And again, like a lot of the people who self-shoot because they're creating content, like they are at work. They're doing it for work because they're doing it to sell that, you know, but like, I totally agree. Like, I don't want to stand out in my backyard after getting a costume for 2 hours and have Regan take pictures of me. Like, it's just not fun the way it is. I mean, I love you, Regan, but we can just hang out in here, not in costume. Yeah. I want to be with my friends making art.
So we're lucky in that our friend Sam lives like 10 minutes away and is like we're isolating and she is isolating, and so we're essentially like in a group together.
They're called pods.
We're in a pod.
Right.
So we can still see Sam during this time, and sometimes that has involved the very few times we have shot anything. It has involved like her taking photos. And Sarah, a funny story is that means that for her, I need to be a photographer because we can't bring in someone from the outside, and so she hands me her Sony camera with the lens that I swear to God is like this big around. This fat, and I'm like struggling to hold this thing, like, and I can't do it. I cannot hold it one-handed, and I'm just like, how the hell do you do this for 40 minutes at a con? And she's like, why do you think I'm in such a bad mood after every single photo?
No, that's fucking real.
Like, it is so damn. I have no idea.
Admittedly, she has like one of the biggest freaking lenses you can get, because I think it's like she's got the
on the smallest little body.
She's got that like Sigma 135 f.
Yeah, unbelievably heavy.
Which one it is?
It's and you have, and the way that the Sony works is you have to like focus. You have to hit the button to focus on the face before you actually hit the button. So like you really do have to hold it one-handed so that you can hit the damn face focus button. Like,
my arm would fall off.
I could not do it. It was, I told her, like, I want to make like a baby holder to hold the camera like on her shoulders almost. Like,
oh my God.
Like, someone's got to make that.
That's
gotta be something you can buy.
Oh yeah. Wedding photographers, they have all those rigs.
Yeah, there's so many different weird things you can get that'll help you. Yeah. To kind of wind back to you, Sarah, it is kind of funny how it's made me realize how much cosplay photography and cosplay is just an excuse for me to hang out with people that I like.
Yes. Oh my God, that's so true. Oh
yeah, it's just like, I still really want to see these people, and it'd be cool if I had a camera in my hand, but like, I don't like, I could just see these friends, and like, we don't need this cosplay thing. And we had this guise of conventions and cosplay photography, and this is something that, like, it's not like some revelation that I knew, like, hey, I enjoy hanging out with friends. Like, that's not a weird thing that I'm like suddenly coming to grasp with, but it is kind of like just so much more clear than it ever was, that it was just like the people that really made the cons fun for me. Like, I don't miss taking photos of those people. I miss those people.
Yeah, and also, like, I realize I don't miss conventions necessarily. I miss the people I see at the conventions. And kind of like what you said, the conventions were just kind of like a means for all of us to like be there. Like, I mean, who doesn't miss just like freaking drinking Joe's Jungle Juice out of a Gatorade bottle at like 2 a.m. at the gazebo during Katsucon? Like, yeah, hello?
I would say I miss both, but there's something to be said, I think, for specific con environments that just like that like overwhelming mass of weeb energy that just is not replicatable in any other form. And it is something that I think that grew tiring after a while. Like, I was over it in some ways, but this time away from it has, like, distance makes the heart grow fonder kind of thing, where it's
Jesus
just like,
Christ.
oh, I missed that. Oh,
Yeah.
because it was one of the first things that drew me to cons, was just that like mass of like-minded weeb folk. And it's kind of, as I got more and more into convention, that became less of what was, something that I was strictly interested in. But now that I've been further away from them for quite a while, like, it's like, oh, that's an aspect I do miss. Okay. I know that about myself. I do.
Yeah, I mean, cons are like their own little world where everybody's sort of on the same, maybe not the same page, but we're all in the same booklet at least
Yeah.
for the weekend. Because I would never in my real life like just take a drink that somebody hands me. But at a con, maybe, maybe they're gonna be my new friends. So there's definitely like I hear a lot of people being like, well, we'll just never go to cons again and we'll do small group meetups and get an Airbnb. And I'm like, that's not the same energy.
Yeah. Those are fun. Those are great things. And I want to do those with some of my cosplay friends. But I don't think they are a flat out replacement for cons.
It's not the same thing. Because we've done those before COVID and they were really fun. But it was more like a family reunion, but you actually like everybody that's there.
They're fun with your current friends. They're fun with your current friends. They're not really conducive for meeting people, and like sharing cosplay with people you don't necessarily know. And I could see some people saying, well, what about, something like Ellicott, which is like 100-person version of that. But then you get into the problem of, when you have a cap on something, who are you going to cap out? And then people are going to be very upset about, well, I didn't get invited and this is my only opportunity to meet people. So that sucks. So you kind of do have to go the route of everyone is welcome to come. It's got to be something large like this, or else you're going to, unfortunately, end up excluding people.
Yeah. That's a difficult route to go down for sure. I would say that like just kind of looking at it from those specific of like, well, let's get some friends together and do this thing. The other major part that's missing there is those friends that you only kind of know, that maybe if you actually did know them more, you would invite them to the bigger like the family reunion style thing, but you don't know them well enough now, so you're just like, well, I don't know, I don't want to. They could be not that great, they could be awesome. You feel like you're taking a gamble, but at a con, there's no gamble. If you're not having fun hanging out with them at a con, you're just like, you can just be like, well, I have a shoot in like 5 hours that I gotta go get ready for. I mean, 5 minutes.
Cons are such a great, like, no pressure way to make new friends.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes then, like, after 3 cons, like, related to what you're saying. So we have some con family in the Midwest.
I thought we were gonna tell the Eric story.
No, fuck Eric. No, don't. I love Eric, but that wasn't who I was talking about. So we have some con family in the Midwest, and like we had met them and had gone to a couple cons with them, but weren't really very close. And then we had our wedding, and we were like, should we invite them to our wedding? That's weird. That's like an obligation.
Yeah.
But now we're like super close and do the family reunion thing, and like I wish they'd come to our wedding. But like, yeah, if you have like an Airbnb and you're like, well, it's going to be $200 and you have to come to this place in the mountains to get an Airbnb, like,
you have
maybe you're crazy or maybe you're cool, but you like would feel weird about showing up where you don't know anybody.
Yeah, you want to be pretty confident that you're gonna like at least most of the people there.
Exactly.
Yeah, because like there's sometimes where like I've had ones that maybe I haven't been directly like, like, oh, Andrew, come to this thing, but I've known about and have kind of contemplated, but that have looked at like who's coming, and not that I had any problems with those people, but like there was just enough people that I didn't really know that well, where I was just like, do I want to take this specific time out to travel to go to this place to be with all these people that I don't know. And sometimes that can be great. And sometimes that can be miserable. And
I can say, as an introverted person, that is my biggest nightmare.
Yeah.
Like, that is just Andrew. So, like, remember, okay, so the first time we roomed together, actually, at Colossal Con, I felt like we were on that level. Like, I knew you, we had hung out together, and, like, I knew people in the room. Like, Allison was in the room. I just hit myself with my mic anyway. Like, Allison was in the room too, and, like, I knew everyone in the room, but it was, like, the first time I was rooming with people who were, like, not my usual group of people that I room with, and I just remember being, like, the day before, I was like, oh my god, I'm so fucking nervous. I don't know these people that well. Like, what if they're crazy? What if I'm crazy? What if whatever? Oh,
Yeah.
man.
I was like,
but at a con, the energy is so different because, like we kind of said earlier, like you can escape if you have to. Whereas if you're in some like rando Airbnb in the mountains somewhere, like, oh, you're fucked, you're stuck there.
That was kind of like my first Colossal Con I went to. The group that I stayed with, I had one friend that I knew in that room, and she broke her arm right before Colossal Con, so she bailed out. So I didn't know anyone in that room, like the one connection. And it was like one of those massive, like, 3-bedroom. There were like 10 people in that situation. And it worked out great. The people I roomed with were awesome. But it was like that fear where you're going in, you're just like, I don't know any of these people. This could be miserable. But at least it was at a con. So like, you didn't need to know. You didn't really need to commit to them if they didn't end up being great people. You could be like, I guess I'm never staying at the room.
Like, I'm just gonna go sleep on the floor of this other room. Bye.
I can't wait for cons to come back, you guys.
Yeah.
What if Katsu was the last con and Katsu is the first con?
And I hope Katsu's the first con.
We'll see. We love the state of the United States right now. Just fucking kidding.
Yeah. Man, I don't know. Like, it's gotten to the point where, like, the cons that we're just, like, or when this kind of, all of this rigmarole started up, I kind of thought, like, 2021 cons, it'll probably be fine by then, but, like.
I have very little. I'm going in with a negative mind.
Yeah,
I'm going in with a negative mindset so I can be pleasantly surprised, honestly.
I also don't know how we're going to be, like, almost like this weird PTSD towards cons where it's just like large groups of people together.
Weebs already don't shower. Forget washing your fucking hands. Like
we've spent like the past several months training ourselves that those are terrible things and that we should never be a part of. And like now the I miss them so badly, but the idea of like if someone like tomorrow was like, we figured it out, it's good, we're safe, you can go to a con again, I'd just be like the idea of just like jumping back into a huge crowded area right now after essentially being around no one for months and months is just like
I think I'd be fine with it.
Yeah, I'd be fine with it if we were vaccinated.
Yeah, if they're like the only way I'll return is if there's a vaccine and it's proven to work.
They won't release one unless they have good evidence that it'll work, because that would be a disaster otherwise.
I know,
they said the
fucked
last
up enough,
part,
that's for sure.
hoping it into existence. We wouldn't do that. We wouldn't do it. Oh, we're getting a sick raid. Hey, Pyrofly. Thanks for the raid, girl. How was your stream? We're just chatting about the wonderful nature of the world. I think it's a pretty good spot to transition to a different topic that's kind of adjacent, which is keeping yourself motivated. Specifically for you guys, Regan and Scone, how have you guys kept yourself motivated in this period of time? Have you been able to, or maybe where have the struggles been and that kind of
Okay, let me describe to you what I did today. I went to work, I worked, I took lunch and read a bunch of Umbrella Academy fan fiction. And then I went back to work, and then I got off of work, and then I read a bunch of Umbrella Academy fan fiction, and then I took a nap for 2 hours. And then I woke up and got on this thing.
And all of that was probably within like 20 feet of each other, right? Like, yeah.
Sure. So like the productivity is like kind of directly correlating to how much fan fiction and napping I'm doing in general.
That's a reverse correlation.
I love this.
Right
I
there.
love this new equation. This is great.
It's true.
Math I can get behind.
Because I will say this: I occasionally what'll happen is I'll say, "Man, I really need to. I should do some cosplay work. I should actually do this," and then I'll actually like work. Like last night, I did cut out some stuff for Bubblegum, and like very slowly like working on these like little embroidery things, but like kind of only when I feel like it. So like. Some like over the weekends or like on some days I'll be like, oh, okay, it's been a while since I did anything. I should like actually take a couple hours and do this. But then some days I'm just like, no, I'm just going to read Umbrella Academy fan fiction all day and nap. So like, I don't know. I don't feel bad about not working. Like I know I'm not as productive as usual, but at the same time, I don't care. And I think if I was mad at myself for not working every day, that would just like what would that accomplish? So it's kind of like if you are motivated, if you feel like working, like if today is the first time in a week and you're like, hey, I should do some crafting today for a couple hours, cool, do it.
I think that's part of it, where it's like literally just coming to terms with the idea of like, hey, it's okay to not feel super motivated right now. It's okay to kind of give in to like that, like, you know what, I'm just gonna read some fan fiction right now, and that's what's good. Like if I'm finding enjoyment in that and that's helping me pass the time, that's okay. And you know, we are, if you guys are anything like me, you have that fight internally of like, if I'm not doing something that isn't like tangibly creating something productive, sometimes you're like, wow, I'm wasting my life. Like, I know I have this fight.
That's a Midwestern thing.
Well,
that's
I'm
what
Midwestern.
Yep.
Oh, that's me 100%.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm like failing or something.
Yeah, and it's such a hard thing to like overcome, where it's just like, no, it's okay to just chill and not do it.
So I think that kind of circles back though to like, because I know I've cut back considerably on my social media consumption because, you know, people who have stayed motivated like to produce new content and sew and whatever, you know, I would see all that stuff, but then I would like beat myself up about it, being like, well, I haven't fucking, my sewing machine's in its box, I haven't touched it, it's sitting in the closet right now, like haven't done anything. I have barely touched my camera. I touched it for the first time 2 weeks ago. Like, you know, and seeing all that newly produced content, I'd be like, man, I'm being so fucking lazy. Like, I have all this time now, you know, because I'm working from home and I gotta stay inside because freaking Karen 1 through 5 can't wear a fucking mask outside. And I think it's like you said, like, you know, even like 5 years ago, the social media posting was not at the volume that it is now. So it's like, I don't think the production of content has necessarily changed. I think it's the fact that we're constantly exposed to the output of this content that we feel like it's like go, 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 go. At least that's how I feel. I think it's also because I do the photography and the cosplay, so I feel like I have to do both equally, which is a lot of extra work for like no reason. And then I realized,
sorry, no, go on, Sarah.
I was gonna say, like, you know, it doesn't fucking matter. Like, who cares if I'm putting out new content every day? You know?
Oh, totally not me. I can do that much.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Like, the two things I would say. So the first thing to what you're saying about I'm being so lazy. Why am I not producing this stuff? In my brain, I have kind of associated with, well, what am I making it for? Even if I make something, I have to wait 6 months to get a shoot. I have to wait 6 months to go to a con. I have to wait at least a year to go to a contest. So why beat yourself up over something that you can't actually like what your goal is not for 6 to 12 months. So why rush? Just take it easy.
And time isn't real without a deadline.
Yeah, there's no deadline. So like now it's kind of time to begin the Katsucon work. And so I'm trying to get back into it. But like, I think part of that is why I have not cared that much about making new stuff.
Yeah.
But also, Sarah, to your point of, it seems like in the last 5 years, there's more social media. But maybe people aren't producing as much content. I disagree. I think cosplay in the last 2 years has taken a much bigger emphasis on, to be successful, you need to produce like new costumes and new photos.
Oh no, that's what I meant. Like I felt like 5 years ago it didn't really, like, people were still producing content, but not to the extent that it is now. And that the social media platforms has made it more visible to us.
There is a big emphasis on quantity. So I think that also makes it a lot harder to be successful number wise, if you're like a crafter kind of person. Because
that's what you measure success with. Yeah.
Like there's very few crafters who can produce a new costume every 2 weeks. Like I can think of like one person who can do that.
I can't think of like any.
Yeah, it seems impossible.
They're all on TikTok, which I don't have because we're old.
What's
So-
a TikTok? Well, maybe they won't be on TikTok, but it's a whole different ball game that I don't want to get into on this stream here.
I'm too old.
Well,
I'm too old for TikTok. That's my entire brand statement on that.
Well, you might be too American for TikTok too. It turns out, as we,
Right.
Who knows if we will have access to it? That's the whole can of worms that I don't want to get into, but that I was referencing.
My brain hurts already.
Yeah, but who knows on that one? But yeah, no, I kind of like, I think my response in a lot of ways is I've worked a lot on different photo sets, but I've finished very few of them. I feel like my brain's gotten a little bit more like spastic because there's no like, oh, I need to get this done by this time or this done by this time. I'm kind of letting myself jump all over the place and let myself work on the things that are interesting to me in that exact moment. And
yeah, there's no urgency.
In some ways it's been like a little, I'm going to say quote unquote worse, because like I don't have nearly as much tangible things to show, where it's just like, because I've been working on so much, I'm not plowing through one like thing to get it done, completed, and out there, and just kind of following my enjoyment, which has been an interesting time. And at some point, I think it'll like I will eventually have a ton of content from all this random stuff I have worked on, but as of right now, there's very little tangible things to anyone but me.
Mood.
Yeah. So in other words, motivation is hard right now. And don't be mad at yourself for having trouble with motivation, because I think all of us are in that.
I was mad at myself for a month. Don't even waste your time. It's literally not worth it. It's a hobby.
So
just take your time.
To kind of talk about motivation, you guys had talked about events, but I know you'd mentioned briefly about some virtual cosplay competitions, and I don't know. I haven't been following that as a cosplay photographer. I'm less into that area. But could you guys give me some insight as to like what's going on there? Maybe what challenges those are gonna have, and maybe how they're being handled in a different manner than your
how does that work?
Conventions?
So I think the cons are really attempting to try and fill the hole. I think that they really are making a best effort to sort of give people something. It's definitely not a replacement for real life, but they're trying. And I think some of the cons are more successful than the others. Everybody's sort of just shooting in the dark, trying to figure out how this is going to work. So it's actually kind of interesting to see. It's, everybody's inventing the wheel separately.
It's a good way to put it. So what are you guys involved in with any of those given things? do you have involvement, or you?
Yeah, so the one we well, actually the judging already took place, but the broadcast is actually going to be this weekend. It's for Reed Pop's Reed Metaverse is what I think it's called, is what their big online thing is. So that's like New York Comic Con, Emerald City, MCM London, all of those Reed Pop conventions. They're doing an online con this weekend, and they had a big contest, which will be on Saturday, I think. I hope the website's up today. It was supposed to be up today. And so we judged that with Plexi. And actually, I liked everything they gave to us, because what they required is some photos of the cosplay, which are great, but obviously like have been, photoshopped. And then they also gave us their booklet, and then they gave us 2 videos. One was just a video of them in the cosplay to show it from all angles, show them moving around, whatever they wanted. And then the other one was their actual pre-judging video. So this was like a 5-minute thing where they got to talk about it and give some like closer up shots with the camera. And so that made it really clear like what the actual level of craftsmanship was. Because the problem with just any online contest, and like the reason why I used to never do them, was because I'd say, well, you can hide things. How can anyone judge just photos? That doesn't make any sense. Why am I going to enter in something where I don't know what the integrity is? But in this case, it was great because we actually did get to see all of the details, because over like, a 10-minute video, there's like a lot to look at there.
Yeah, it was a lot of videos of like the costume on the dress form, and then the person like peeling off layer at a time, sort of showing it to the camera, explaining. I thought they did a really good job. I was really impressed with how they set it up and what they asked of the contestants. It was the MCM London cosplay team that sort of organized it for them, and she's great, and they did a really good job. So I think it, and like honestly, some of the entries, I think we got a lot of people who had been making stuff for BlizzCon, and then that went to Poopy, so we got a lot of like BlizzCon like refugees.
Oh, that's funny.
There was a lot of good
Blizzard
costumes, and there was a lot of Blizzard stuff.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that one was great. We're going to be a part of another that has not been announced yet, but that's going to be a really good contest. We've already had a lot of discussions about how to make sure that the judging for that is accurate as well. And I think those are the only 2 we're involved in right now. But I know there's been a couple others just over the summer and etc. as well.
Since you guys have now judged for one already, what is the thing that you enjoyed the most about having it digitally, and what was the thing that bothered you the most?
Or it could be like improved, maybe.
Yeah.
I like that there was no time constraint.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Because we just had all the files. So normally when you're judging, you get like 3 minutes with a contestant, maybe 5.
That's it?
Yeah, you don't get very much.
Yeah,
Which is great while we tag
average,
team. We're
I'd
like,
say.
I'm like, I'm gonna look here, you look here. But when you're just sitting on your craft room floor with a beverage and a computer, you get to take as much time with each entry as you want. So that was really nice.
I think that was that was definitely the good part. Not being able to ask questions was not wonderful. I don't think there were a lot of instances where I was just like, I don't understand why. Like I wanted to ask a question about it.
Is there a preset of questions that they get that they have to answer and submit with their video?
Oh, they generally it reminded me a lot of kind of like the general mode that you go into for prejudging. So like when you go into prejudging, what happens is they come in and they immediately just start talking. And for 5 minutes straight, they just start rattling off how they made every single little thing on their costume, going into detail about, how they made it so that, they can kind of show that they made it and describe the techniques, and then anything that was really innovative or cool or something that gave them trouble or something that they learned, and kind of talk about it that way. And that's what pretty much everyone did in these videos. So it was almost like a prejudging where we were silently watching, which I have had prejudgings like that, and like that's not cool when that happens in person. But like it wasn't weird being online. So I don't know. I feel like there was like one question that we were just like, oh, I wish I could
there was
ask
like
them,
one or two where
lot.
I really wanted to be like, was this on purpose? Because if it was on purpose, it would have been really smart, but it also could have just been a fuck up, and now you're trying to like pass it off.
That's me. Just kidding.
And, and obviously sometimes even in person, when you ask people those questions, they'll dodge it. But once in a while, you really do kind of, something about the situation or the costume or the contestant just doesn't feel right. You want to ask some questions just to clarify for your sake. And so that's tough. I don't know how well the stream will go. Like from a judging perspective, I thought it was really... like what we got was really well organized and was enough, and I'm confident in the decisions we made. But like so much of a contest is like hearing people cheer, and like you're on the stage and you can tell that the contestants are just really, and then they call somebody's name and they're like so psyched, and you're psyched for them. So like I don't know how the energy of watching it is going to be. Probably not like that, but logistically, it was really good.
I think that's streaming in a nutshell. It's so hard to replicate the energy of people actually being there. It's very hard for someone's text and chat to be give you the same excitement as maybe someone verbally responding or clapping or something like that. So that'll
Is
be
there
interesting to see how it plays out.
Is there anything you would like to see maybe implemented into virtual cosplay judging that would maybe help bring that kind of like energy, or I don't know?
Yeah, for the one that's not been announced yet, we've kind of had this discussion, and they have an idea. I don't think there's anything you can do to replicate it straight up. I think there's things you can do to make the stream more interesting. But there's the energy you get from a live audience is just, you can't. You can't hope for that. You can just hope for an engaging, interesting stream, because these things do last like 30, 40 minutes.
I think having them like on a platform like Twitch where people can respond is probably like would be a good step. Like even TwitchCon's contest, like when Regan went to TwitchCon, I didn't go with her because I was going to something else at the time, or I just didn't want to go. I don't remember what it was, but she went by herself. But we all went to one of our friends' house and we all watched the stream together, and you see like the Twitch chat like moving at like light speed. And like it was sort of fun. Like it was definitely like more interaction than just passively sitting there watching it.
Let me tell you, there's a lot of fuckboys in the TwitchCon stream chat.
Oh, I'm sure.
You don't say.
Who would have guessed?
I can't ever imagine. I hope hope there's no fuckboys in this chat, guys.
But also remember, like the Twitch stream is still a shot of the stage.
Yeah.
So you have that live energy.
Yeah.
Like that's the missing piece here.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. I don't know. I really enjoyed live contests a lot. I think this is a Band-Aid substitute, but I cannot see online contests becoming the norm. They're just not the same, in my opinion.
Wait, here's a crazy suggestion. What if, I don't know if this was required, but what if with each entry for a contest, I'm just like shooting this shit right now, but what if everyone was required, or if they wanted to, I guess, to do kind of like a walk of their costume, and it was compiled as if you were watching a show? I think
that's kind of what they're thinking, actually.
So
similar.
I haven't dug into it. The only reason I know this is because my wife was telling me about this. So any of you guys know that this is incorrect, please correct me. But from my understanding, Crunchyroll is putting on their own cosplay contest, and they're putting an aspect of the contest into the production of the video for it. So like you being in character, you like how it presents, how the video looks, like those aspects of it are part of the competition, which I think is interesting. It's taking it, it's not trying to purely replicate a traditional contest, which I think is an interesting approach to it. I don't know whether or not that will end up being successful, but I think it's interesting that they'd be trying something different.
I agree. I think that's interesting because like you're never going to replicate the feeling and like just the sort of logistical stuff of a live contest. So if you know that you're not going to be able to replicate that, choosing to do something really different and take advantage of sort of the strengths of your format. I don't know if I would like all contests to do that, but it is an interesting idea for an online contest.
It's almost like, it's like you said, it's basically trying to solve a problem, which is how can we make, online costume contests as engaging or as like exciting as a real life one. And if that means like changing it up for the sake of it being online, I think that's a pretty interesting problem to solve, actually.
It would almost be like making the contest more like the AMV contest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
And you're not talking about a craftsmanship contest, you're talking about a masquerade.
Yeah, it's
probably more masquerade.
Yeah, it's definitely blurring. I haven't looked into it, so I can't like one of those things. I only heard about it because my wife brought it up in passing. I didn't do my due diligence and actually research what the criteria is. So
no, I heard of another contest that was doing that where you had to make like a short video in costume, and they like wanted like little skits or little comedy bits or essentially like a video, like entertaining video. So I think that more people are thinking about that instead of just trying to copy paste like your craftsmanship stage contest onto the internet, which is never really, it's not going to work 100%.
Yeah, we're in this interesting period where we are being forced to experiment. So I, kind of a bit of throwing spaghetti against the wall and seeing what sticks. So,
who I thought did a really good job. Actually, I just remembered this was the World Cosplay Summit, the video that they produced last year. I mean, the contest is in Japan, so your chances of being able to attend and see those things in real life is like 0%. And I remember the video that they made of all the different countries that made it to the finals. It was basically the same type of shot every single time. It was like someone just like walking down, and it was like these crazy wide angles, and it almost kind of felt like you were at a show watching, but they're clearly just by themselves with the videographer. But like the angles were so interesting, and the music was like perfect for it. It almost kind of like helped, kind of like for the people, majority, the entire world who can't go. So I think that's kind of what I was thinking of in terms of like, so it's not necessarily to judge craftsmanship, but more to just showcase the people who are participating in these contests.
A bunch of the European contests have videos like that as well. I think that's just like a thing. Everyone not us does. Because the Euro cosplay trailer, the year that we judged in Germany, before everyone went on, they were just like, "Oh, here's the video," and they put the video up, and I was just like, "Holy shit! This is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life." But all of the international level contests seem to have a video like that. It's just a thing that they all do because they're cool as shit.
They're like, I remember I watched it last year and I had like goosebumps. Like it was so cool to see it.
American contests are not
cosplay one. Okay.
On par with anything anybody else is doing.
The US is clearly not on par with a lot of things, but
Yeah, I want to pull up that Euro cosplay one because like I shit you
Yeah,
not.
can you send that to me?
I will. And the one I think from this year is also great, but like the one I watched was last year's. Because I shit you not, I was not going to enter the crown last year because I had dicked it up and I didn't realize that Emerald City's qualifier was for like 2020, blah 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 blah. So I was like, okay, well, I guess
what if you'd messed that up
yeah,
and it was canceled?
that would be fucked. I would be so mad, y'all. No, it would have qualified me for last year.
If you had gone to Emerald City in 2019, you would have. No, they did have C2E2 this year.
Yeah, they did.
Okay, yeah, that was literally the last con.
Yeah, that was the last con.
It was right before. It's so weird to think about that it's just like, oh, that was.
I still would have been shit because it would have just ruined all my. So anyway, so I was just like, okay, well, I guess I'll just wait to do the crown until next year, and that's fine. And then we went to this German con. And we judged Euro cosplay, and they played this fucking video, and everyone did their skit, and I was just like, this is the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen. I really want to do a contest now. And like from Germany, applied to the qualifier, which happened like the week after we got back or whatever. And like that's
literally the weekend after we got back from Germany.
That's the only reason I did the crown is because I saw Euro cosplay and was just like so blown away by like how amazing and how like just that energy of being there and watching the video and seeing everyone on stage. And I was just like, I too want to do this. I can't wait a year.
Is it the Euro cosplay 2019 trailer?
18, I think.
Well, we were there in 8.
Yeah, no, I think it was 18.
We were there in 18. So
yeah, because Euro cosplay 2020 is like not a thing, so it must be 18. I'm sure 19 is also good, but 18 was definitely the one that I watched. So let me see. I'm also going to watch this now.
Here.
Sorry, guys.
If you guys can paste that link in the Facebook chat, I
don't know if this is the right one.
You know what? Shit, maybe it is 19. Hang on, I can watch this. No, yeah, it's 19.
It is the 19 one. Okay.
Yeah, 18. Actually, wait. I'm being a dumbass. It's not Euro cosplay. It's ECC. Sorry, we did judge.
Oh my god.
I'm sorry. We did judge Euro cosplay, and that's why I'm mixing it up. It's European Cosplay Gathering 2018. Okay, that is why I'm screwing myself up. Here we go.
BT
let me get the trailer for you.
Europe has like
season 9
finals, cups, and America sucks because we don't have any of that.
What do you mean?
About how America sucks because we have 100,050 people dead of COVID, and also we don't have any cosplay cups.
It's just like
COVID and cosplay. Who would have thought? Is it this finals music video?
I'm trying to find it. I'm sorry.
No, y'all, the World Cosplay Summit one though, fucking dope as shit.
I'm such a dummy. Why can't I find it?
They might not have put it
also, the person who did it was Rescued the Princess, and pretty much everything they produce is dope as fuck. So it's a little unfair, but this is kind of like what I was thinking for like virtual videos.
You know what I'd like to see in virtual contests is like they force everybody to get on a Zoom call, and then when they announce the winner, they put up that winner's little Zoom box up, so you get to actually see the reaction.
I love that. Also, I would hate it, but that's really cool.
Where'd you put the link? I want to watch it
on Twitch.
Twitch chat.
Wait, Andrew, are you gonna play it?
Yeah, let me see if I can get this up. Oops, I didn't mean to hit.
I'm not gonna be able to hear the music, so that sucks.
Hold on. Whoopsies, didn't mean to do that one. Let's try that again. We're gonna browser source and we're just gonna cut.
What is this window?
Hold on. Okay.
Well,
and
I'm
we're
gonna go to the
capture
bathroom,
that. Yeah,
'cause I gotta
okay,
pee.
And let's just crop this in. Doop. Doop. We'll say that's good, right? Yeah, that'll be fine for what we want it to be. So I'll just play it in the background here. Yeah, you're not getting audio because that's too much for me to ask at the moment. So you're just gonna have to hear it quietly and enjoy. Yeah, I should probably figure out how to do that. But you know what? It is what it is. Oh man, I was like, we getting the audio on one of you guys' side. Just pick it up through the mic. Oh, you don't want it. Why are you? No, you don't want to see that. There we go. I accidentally switched tabs to look at Twitch chat and realized I couldn't do that because I was screen capturing the browser. That doesn't work. That doesn't work at all. But yeah, no, having a video like this for this is pretty neat. So while this runs, unless you guys have any other thoughts on this, there was one topic that I wanted to transition to. Unless you guys are all just mesmerized by watching.
No, I can listen and watch at the same time.
So,
oh wait, hold on. This J Heart and Garnet, like Jesus Christ, these costumes.
I know.
I'm so glad that the U.S. was just like, you know what, new qualifying con, new team. We're going as hard as fucking possible. We're sending J Heart, like,
yeah, right though, like perfect.
Okay, now you can ask your question.
Okay, so the area that I wanted to transition to as we watch and enjoy is.
Can we talk about how that cosplayer did like a flip and their wig stayed on? I don't. Anyway.
Which is so. You know, we've talked about motivation and kind of how hard that is, but the just sheer fact of obtaining materials is not as easy for working on cosplay at the moment. You might not have access to the same physical stores as you did, and I know turning to online sources for shopping for materials and fabric and stuff can be not quite as enjoyable of an experience as going in person shopping. So how have you guys been dealing with that process, or have you just
implying that we're not giant hoarders in the Cowbutt house?
You're just like, we are the store. Have you guys needed to really do
I mean, we buy a lot of stuff online as is. 'Cause around here, there's like a couple local stores, but they're kind of far away. And then there's Joann's, but that's also kind of far away. So like, I end up buying a lot of stuff online anyways. So that hasn't really changed.
Yeah, same.
We did end up going to New York last week, like in the middle of the week, because we were like, oh, it'll not be very busy, and hit up a couple of fabric stores there. And honestly, New York was the emptiest I've ever seen it.
Huh.
It was insane how few people, because normally if you go to the fabric district, and normally we go on the weekends, like it's packed because it's like right near Times Square.
Yeah, it's a nightmare.
There was nobody. There was nobody. You know, Sarah, have you been to Mood before?
No.
Like, you know, okay. Well, like Mood is usually so busy they have a bag check. And like I saw maybe like 5 people in that store. And it's a 3-story store. Like the guy that was working there was so bored. He was just like, let me look at your design. I'm just gonna pull swatches I think you might like. And just like did that for half an hour because there was no, and like we wore our masks and we took a bunch of hand sanitizer. We took gloves with us. So like we were really careful about it, but like the concern is that it's just going to keep getting worse. And it seemed like a good time to go. Mm-hmm. So we did get all of the fabric we need in theory for Katsu, but it was most of the stores. It was like us and the shopkeeper were the only people there. So it was crazy. Like just how empty it was. I don't know if we would have gone if there wasn't like we had a big ass shopping list. Like we ended up buying like probably like $600 worth of fabric. But that's like for the next 6 months. Yeah. So that's everything we need besides notions, which I'll just buy on Amazon.
Right.
So for those of us who potentially may not have as easy of a time going to someplace, or perhaps our places are still closed, like I know one of the larger fabric stores in Chicago, what they're doing right now is you can go, but it's by appointment only. So
interesting.
Is it that big warehouse store? Because we went there a couple of years. That gray store was so cool.
Yeah. So from my understanding, it is still this way. It was this way a little bit ago, which is to say it was appointment only. So, you have to, and there was a minimum purchasing limit. So like you needed to buy a certain amount. So that might not work for you. So do you guys have favorite online resources?
Yes. Sorry, I'm like fascinated by this video.
I told you it was great, right?
So we before 2 weeks ago, we were buying pretty much everything online. So Silk Baron, obviously.
Honestly,
great.
Etsy is my go-to now. You can get so many great fabrics there.
We've gotten a bunch of lace on Etsy.
Vogue fabric.
I'm actually getting ready to buy a bunch of foam from Blick. So like there's definitely places to get things online still that you don't necessarily need to see in person. And then for fabric, she had ordered just a ton of swatches from Mood. And just had them sent here, and then like kind of looked at them and was like, okay, now I'll buy that one, and then actually just still bought it online. So I think it's definitely possible to buy things online still without going into the store. But for fabric specifically, like I don't like to buy yardage without actually touching the swatch. So it's just an extra step.
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing is that all the timelines for getting stuff done are so stretched out at this point that you can really afford to wait an extra week and a half for a swatch before making an order.
As long as it's not being shipped by USPS, because right now that's
oh, bless them.
Feel so bad.
Or USPS.
I
take back me shitting on them constantly.
Dude, I feel so bad because I know it's not their fault, but I have an order that's been it's going on 3.5 weeks. That it's been till since I ordered it, and I'm like, will I ever get this? It's been like just dancing around everywhere. It's kind of hilarious. You like look at the tracking and where it went, and it's just been like, nope. Okay, it went north of me, then it went south of me, and then now it's went north of me again, and I'm like, okay.
I need to send an international friend something, and I'm scared too because I don't.
Yeah, it's not great.
We got an international package at a reasonable time, although that was 2 weeks ago. So I don't know.
I think it's just getting worse each day.
I also had to call them about it to make sure things were right, and I spent an hour.
Oh, calling USPS is the worst.
An hour and a half on their hold line, and I was just like, no.
Time to die.
Yeah, that was not a fun
worst.
Time. But okay, I think that gets us to a good halfway point here. So, we are gonna take a 5-minute break. Don't go anywhere. Don't leave. I'll know if you leave. Don't head out. Think of some questions for us. Also, don't post those questions right now because I will not be at my computer.
Because Andrew will lose them.
Yeah, I'm gonna lose them. So think about them. Think what you're gonna be. Remember them, and then post them when we're back in 5 minutes. We will see you guys shortly, and break is going on now. I don't know why my screen transition buttons aren't working anymore. I'll have to fix that. Of course, there had to be some jank. Thanks for hanging out, people. We are back to the question side of things. So let's get this chat visible here. Chat, we're going to take your questions and we will answer them, and it'll be wonderful. But in order for that to happen, we need to have your questions. Otherwise, this is going to be real lame. So, if you have those, post them in chat now. I do have some in case the chat is slow. This is one that Sarah, I know, was asked on your Instagram, which where the hell did I put? Oh man, I think I don't know. I have it up still. Which is what beginner mistakes do you see, and this can be either cosplay or photography, that drive you nuts?
Not ironing.
What?
Not ironing.
Thank you.
Yeah, like that probably drives me the most nuts, especially like at cons. There's an iron in your room. They give you one.
So my thing is, like, I know a lot of people don't iron their Cowbutt costumes because the fabric is literally the fucking worst. But buy a steamer. I bought a travel size steamer, and that thing has just saved my life. And it's actually a lot faster than ironing if you're concerned about Cowbutt fabric, because I know I am sometimes. But yeah, please iron your clothing. Please.
Yeah.
Please. It can totally ruin a photo. I'm not going to lie.
As a photographer, like, I'm the kind of person that's anal enough that I will remove wrinkles.
I digital iron.
But at the same time, man, if I don't have to, that makes life so much easier. So please iron your stuff. Trying to think.
I know my biggest peeve with photography. Well, like as a beginner photographer, I guess, is people who over edit their photos. Like they feel the need that they have to do a ton of editing in order to make the photo look good.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're just starting out and you're not super familiar with like Photoshop or Lightroom, or even understand, like, I mean, this is not to sound rude, but if you don't understand like the understandings of like basic color theory and how colors work together, over editing can just kill a photo. Like I see you people doing like plus 50 saturation and like
of the clarity, Sarah. All
that
of
fucking clarity slider, like, yeah, you gotta take baby steps into editing.
The clarity slider.
The clarity slider
in
is
moderation.
good when you do it at like 10%.
I know. I am super guilty of like way over editing photos.
Yeah, it's hard to know where
compared
that
to what I've
is.
seen. Yeah, well, I think it's training your eye to understand, like, yes, art is subjective, but there are things that aesthetically make something better than something else. Like, if someone's skin color is of an Oompa Loompa, but they're not dressed up as an Oompa Loompa, that's probably a bad edit. I'm just saying. Like,
and you guys probably know this, is one of my biggest pet peeves in beginner photography is the Dutch angle. So turning the camera. So
oh my god, whatever.
When it's at an angle, it's exciting.
Yeah. This. Oh, that's boring. That's art right there. It's art now. So to be clear, I do not think that the Dutch angle is inherently bad. Using the Dutch angle as a crutch for trying to make a boring photo exciting is. And I think it's like an easy way. Like, I did it when I was a beginner photographer.
Oh, we all do.
I turned the camera at an angle and was like, wow, look at this exciting photo. And it wasn't exciting. It was just a crooked photo. Dutch angle has its purpose, but understanding that purpose and utilizing it is important, and you're not going to get that as a beginner. So I urge beginners to avoid that.
That reminds me of another editing peeve that I have. Again, it's I think using the word crutch is a good way to put it. Is like relying on these things to make what you may think is a boring photo better. And another thing I can't stand is when people use like texture overlays wrong. Like they kind of just like, it's like, it reminds me of like my forum signature days, dark times anyway, but like they'll just kind of slap like
the fuck out.
I'm calling myself out,
dude. I was right there with you, Sarah. Right there.
Yeah,
with you.
But it's when you Google search like coffee stained vintage paper, and then you put it on like soft lighter overlay because you want to add like more depth or whatever or texture. I don't fucking know what you want to do, but it's not helping, especially if you're not using it with some kind of intent. Like if it's just to purely just like slap some shit on there to make it seem more interesting. Can't stand that. Basically, over editing drives me nuts. Anyway. Hey, Henteco JMag is here!
So another thing that I think it's not something that necessarily is a beginner mistake in terms of them making it, but one that happens by them not making it. And I think that this is something that took me a while to learn, is prioritizing lighting over everything else. Because like, frankly, you know, people like are worried that they don't know their camera settings. Man, cameras are good enough that most of the time, like if you're learning and you set it to auto, you're probably gonna be fine. Like you don't really like, if you can learn how to find areas that have decent lighting over everything else, it's going to be the area that allows you to get decent looking photos the fastest.
Hard agree. You can't fix bad lighting.
Yeah, like trying to fix that in post is insanely hard and not worth the effort. And you're going to end up like kind of fighting yourself, and you're going to like, you know, knowing what f-stop you want to shoot at, or knowing what, you know, shutter speed, or you know, all these things, like they're good things to know and things that you should learn as you're progressing in photography. But I think we prioritize this technical knowledge over kind of this artistic knowledge sometimes in the photography world. Because
sometimes
it's this technical thing, but like it's really like, it is an art, and if you approach it from an artist perspective and really focus in on that light, you're going to be able to jump ahead really quickly by focusing on the light.
That reminds me of something that we see in cosplay a lot, especially like in contests where somebody will like take something and just load it up on as many like very technical techniques as they can. So you have this like not super well tailored dress that's not necessarily made out of the fabric that it probably should be, and maybe you aren't wearing the underpinnings that you need to, but it's got 900 hours of embroidery and 400 hours of beading and, you know, hand like burnout velvet on it, but it's like you were so busy working on the technique and like the hours of like being very smart that you sort of fucked up the whole.
The base, basically.
I call it grabbing for points. Because it's not necessarily, oh, you're shooting above your level, like you know, you're a younger a cosplayer who's reaching for a technique that you shouldn't necessarily be doing. But it is definitely people who are going out of order. So in the rush to put on the beautiful embroidery and the hand beading and all the trimmings, you have skipped over learning how to put together the pattern. You're drafting the pattern, but you didn't learn how to put together a commercial pattern first. Like you skipped the basics in the rush to get to the cool stuff that's going to give you mad points.
So like when you take it happens so much in contests where you're looking at it up close and you're like, wow, that's amazing, but then you take like 3 steps back and the silhouette is a disaster. Like there's just no thought of like how the overall piece looks as a piece of art.
It seems to be the common thing I think we're saying is that people skipping steps.
Yes.
And that learning the basics of an art are very important, which I don't think we've actually ever talked about on this stream. It's kind of like what you were saying earlier, Andrew. Like, I mean, any person with a brain and can read can learn how to use a camera. Honestly, it's kind of like learning math. Like once you know how to do it, you know how to do it. Yeah. But in terms of like learning the art of like what's good lighting and compositionally, like what makes a good composition, like my model against this thing versus this thing and this background in this situation, and like, and then the colors, like what kind of green do I want to go with? Do I want like, you know, bluish mallow greens, or do I want to stick to more of like a yellow green? And it's those things that people, I think, just skip over because I don't know why, because I think you want to try and jump ahead, basically.
I think they skip over it too because like I know, like you said, we didn't really talk about that much, and I would agree with that. And I think it's because one, it's not as glamorous, like it's not as much fun potentially to talk about, and two, it's harder to talk about. I've been thinking about doing a video series for a while that was talking about composition and all that jazz. But the reason I haven't is because I know the amount of time that's going to take me to put that together versus the like quote unquote payout for me, like in terms of how many people view it or how much people get out of it. Just like, I don't know if that's going to be worth the amount of time it's going to take me to invest into making that an actual thing. It doesn't mean I don't want to do it. It's just something that I kind of weigh it, and I just don't see it happening. It's hard because
I think it's worth bringing up though. Like I mean, I'm not trying to like put myself on a pedestal here, but like I definitely had no idea how the fuck a camera worked before I got into photography. Like I was full on like auto mode, didn't know what an f-stop was, I didn't know what aperture was. Like, oh my god, I was a fucking noob. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't even know how to turn it on. The first time I held like the 5D Mark II, I was like, oh my god, what the fuck do I do? But I have a background in art, so I went into it kind of like backwards of how a photography class would teach you. So I went into it with like the artistic knowledge, but I had no technical knowledge.
I think that's a huge reason.
But I've learned that after.
I think that's a huge reason why you see lots of cosplayers, when they get into photography, tend to quickly create better works than a photographer at the same like experience level, because they usually, one, have worked on the other side of the lens, and two, have an idea of artistically what they want, because they've been like, as an artist, they've been creating art, but then also just purely, you know, working with photographers and seeing what they create, they get more and more ideas of what art that they like to create and compositions and stuff. And so they end up getting to a artistic point faster, but it doesn't, they might not know how to use their camera any better than someone who didn't come from the cosplay side of it. But in the grand scheme of things, the settings and how to use your camera and that technical knowledge is nice to have, but it's not going to help you create art.
So I think what you guys were saying earlier about like why do people try and skip ahead, and like why are the basics so boring? Because they are kind of boring.
Yeah. They are kind of boring.
No one wants to actually do it. And I think I was thinking about this just now. And there's nothing objectively hard either with cosplay or with photography. Like you said, it's settings. You can read a manual and learn how to do it. With cosplay, yeah, I can watch a tutorial and learn how to draft. Easy. You can take the knowledge in and understand that. It's not technically difficult. But yes, I think what makes a master is not necessarily the ability to learn the technique, because like at the end of the day, a lot of the master techniques that we use, I wouldn't say they're hard. Like there are some things that are actually hard, like resin is hard.
So it's really hard. What are you talking about?
No, like gold work. It's not hard to learn. It's really not. But I think what a master often has that a novice does not is, first of all, they've absorbed the techniques on such an intrinsic level that they're second nature, and you're not screwing up, and you're doing it faster, and you know what to do. So it's like kind of like a time and experience thing. But it's also the ability, you have learned how to look at your costume, and I'm assuming your photography, and say, wow, that looks jacked. Let me fix that. Or I can visualize what this should look like. And I think it's the ability to objectively look at it and understand what needs to be done to the piece that a lot of novices have not quite yet learned. And so, you know, when you say, well, I can skip over the basics, I understand how to draft something. Yeah, sure, maybe you do. But do you understand how to look at that thing that you draft and understand that it's maybe needs a little bit of tweaking? And I think when you're in such a rush to skip over that phase and get to all of the master techniques, you have not yet honed that basic ability yet. That really just comes from focusing on like good, simple stuff for a little bit of time.
Well, I think to also touch on what you're saying is like, I think a master also like at their core, yes, they know how to do like the very like basic level of that skill. Like I'm just gonna do like a really it's not a basic skill, but a skill that everyone will know. But like throwing pottery on a wheel and making a vase. We all can learn how to do that within a month or a couple weeks even. But the masters are the ones who are able to take that skill and like adapt it to their own, like to themselves basically, in making that thing. So it's like they've used the foundation of that skill to get to where they are, but then they're able to transform it into something else. Like Regan and Scone, like you both are great at what you do, but you both will craft things differently. So so like while you may have the same skills as each other in terms of like, I don't know, hand beating or something, the way you both do it though is going to be so different in how you interpret to like do beating on one costume versus another costume, or like armor work, or even how to paint something. Like it's just the way I think as artists, like we'll learn the thing, but then we naturally just kind of figure out how to make that craft like our own too as well. Like we don't just do it at a basic level. Like I know I don't care. I'm going to say this, but I know a ton of photographers who are like, okay, well, I know how to use the camera and that's it. It's like, okay, yeah, like that's great, but you're not like really stretching like what it means to be a photographer. Like you're totally missing kind of like the artistic part of it.
I think the hard part with photography and where that can become problematic is like photography sits in this weird realm of like, yes, art, but yes, also exists in this tech space. And I think you get a lot of people that come into it because it's a technology thing and people get really into the tech part of it. Like, oh, it's got the things that do this, and I bought the new one, and it's got the higher ISO and the higher megapixels, and it can take in more light and do more of the things. And it's just like you get lost. A lot of people get lost in that, and a lot of people are interested in photography purely because of that tech standpoint. That, you know, that artistic side of it can often get lost. So
I mean, if you think about it, almost every art has some kind of technical aspect, whether it's like electronic or not.
Yeah, but what I would say there is I think everything is technical. I think when I said tech, I truly meant the electronic side of things, because I think electronic
expensive camera with lots of numbers attached.
Yeah, there's something about that just people like freaking love, where it's just like, ooh, shiny piece of gear, yes.
There's definitely like a collector's mindset with cameras that you don't see. You know, nobody's like, oh, I got another sewing machine, you guys. This one does
maybe
200 stitches.
Maybe there's some people.
I do think that the mastery level of these things requires, you know, you need to be able to look at the piece enough to know that you want to improve.
Yes.
You know, if you can't look at your work, or you can't look at something that you've done, and your first thought is always good enough, it's great, I'm done, and you never go beyond that level, like, that is not a mastery of whatever field it is. Like, I think you need that eye and or that drive to be able to want to do good and do better. Because otherwise, you know, you would look at something that's half finished and be like, yeah, this is great, I'm finished. And you know, I don't know. I think that does require part like an artistic eye, but it also sometimes just comes with experience. Like things that I made, you know, 2-3 years ago, I was just like, yeah, it's great. And like nowadays, I'd be like, no, that's freaking puckered. Why would I ever think that?
This is garbage.
Something.
I mean, as creatives. Oh,
go ahead, Sarah.
I was gonna say, as creatives though, like you never really stop learning, and I think the people who like focus too much on the technical stuff, they think like, oh well, I mastered this camera and I got this photo that is like perfectly well lit, like in camera, I'm done. But that's just like not.
Yeah.
It's not how it is. Like you never stop learning as a creative person, in my opinion.
Something.
I think if you've stopped learning, you've I don't know, stagnated or something.
Yeah. No. Totally. Something Mallow brought up that I think is super great to echo, and I'm sure it probably applies to cosplay as it does photography, which is sleeping on your work. I know for me, I never like to put out a photo unless I've been able to leave it for a day. Usually I edit at night and then I'll wake up and then I'll look at it the next day with a fresh set of eyes. And I think that can be hugely helpful for making sure that you're not putting something out and then looking at it after you've put it out and been like, oh, wow, I borked that. So that's why I will never post art as soon as I've finished it, because goodness knows I'm going to look at it in, 20 hours and be like, oh no, forgot to do this, or I overdid this, or I could have fixed that. So I like to give my eyes time to rest before I continue.
A problem with cosplay. It takes like way too long to make it.
Well, no, that's not true. Like, there's plenty of times where you are at a place where you've really. I think it has less to do with the execution and more to do with like decision fatigue. Mm-hmm. Like you'll be up there working on something all weekend, and you have it. Like this happens a lot in this house where we'll pin on the trim onto the piece that we're working on like 4 different ways. And just like you can't even think straight anymore, and it all looks good, but what looks the best? And it's time to go to bed, or it's time to put it down and work on something else for a while and think about like what you're actually trying to do and what you actually want it to look like. Because sometimes there's too many options, and you could always like keep futzing with it, but then you might ruin it.
Yeah.
This is the problem with cosplay design. I don't have this problem as much when I'm making a canonical outfit, because there's one way to do it and it's the way that's on the paper. But like when it's your own design, then there's just too many options.
Yeah, but even with canon designs, I'm like, do I want this kind of shade of blue for the fabric, or do I want this texture of fabric? Do I want this?
But I'd rather be doing that than being like, oh, should I like redo the entire freaking Yeah, I think I'll do that.
You laugh, but you know how many times I've been like, she's like, I'm just gonna take the entire thing apart and redo the entire 40-hour thing, and I'm like, you're gonna go to bed before you do that.
I mean, that Loki dress you shot, I totally redid that, right?
You know, I totally
did. Yeah,
I know you did. But I'm not surprised, because literally when we were shooting, you were like, I want to redo it, and I was like, okay.
I was also extremely drunk at the time. I cannot believe you got a good photo out of that.
What? You were great.
I was like rolling on the What do you mean?
weren't?
Was I? Yes.
No, you were not. You
Yes,
took her to. I had no idea you were that drunk.
I love that this is like the
Fuck
argument of whether someone was drunk or not, but in the inverse way that it normally happens.
Yeah, no, that was. And did you go to the panel after that?
Yeah, then you guys were hammered.
That was the same thing. No time had passed.
Yes. Wait, really?
Yes.
Well, I didn't notice, but yes, you guys were very hammered during that panel. It was great.
So, okay, an unrelated story about like being drunk at photo shoots. So, at a very small local con, like God, it's got to be like 7 years ago. We were in the hotel room. I was wasted. My friend Alex and her friend were wasted. And this was back like when I used to do all the photography because like we didn't know any photographers, so like I would shoot everyone and we're just like, let's do a shoot. And so like they sat on the bed. I like tilted the lamp in the shitty. It was like 11 p.m. dark hotel room. I like tilted the lamp at them. I took out my shitty Canon Rebel camera and I took a photo. And it was like fucking Michelangelo had painted it. It was like the most beautiful. Something about the lighting.
Canon Rebel's great.
It was like Jesus had come down and just been like, let me touch this up a little bit for you. And like we've never been able to like it ever since. Like I don't understand what happened.
Don't ask questions. Honestly, that's how I feel about that Loki photo. Dude, like it was so good.
Dude,
so good. And I was extremely drunk. So
I have a couple old photos that I look at and I'm just like, how the fuck did I take this amazing photo? I had no idea what I was doing. Like,
yeah, you wing it. You pick a god and pray. That's what you do.
Yeah. And I think honestly, that's part of art is like if you do it enough, you're going to luck into some like amazing things.
But I think also with art, is accepting that there is no right or wrong or reason as to why something happens. Like some of my favorite photos are just from fucking around. Like you look like. No intent whatsoever. You just happen to get a photo, and you're like, "Wow, it looks like fucking great!" Like freaking Regan rolling on the floor, apparently. Which I don't remember.
My favorite photo is that one in Bulbasaur, where I'm like,
"Oh, I love that photo so much."
So let's transition on to a question from chat because we got a couple now. That
by
the way, guys, if you keep on asking questions, I'm saving them now. This one's from Photography Bonsai, which specifically aimed at you two, Regan and Scone. Which is, do you guys consider how fabrics might photograph or view on camera when you select a fabric for a project?
I love this question.
Oh, this one's really tough because sometimes, like, you also want it to look really good in person, but you do want it to photograph well. But then you also have to account for lighting. Like Sarah, we're doing these like fancy ass haiku armor.
Oh, I know.
Oh,
I'm ready.
You know all of that.
I'm ready.
So we had to go down to New York and get like the pink, right? But not like.
Oh shit! It was for that.
Yeah, it was for that. So we had to get that exact color pink, but we had to get it in like the proper weight and the proper like texture, and like. So we ended up taking, like, even if we were like, okay, I think this is the one, but we asked for Swatch to, like, take it outside and, like, photograph it on our phones. So it's a balancing act. Like, you do want to think about how it's going to photograph, but, like, it's going to photograph so differently on different cameras and, like, people's phones and under different lighting that, like, it's not necessarily a make or break it. Like, I feel like if it looks really good in real life, then, and this is kind of mean to you guys, but like the photographers can deal with it. Like
I
they'll
think
figure out how to make it look good.
I think if it looks awesome in real life, I think it should be up to us to make it look good in camera. I think the one area that gets difficult and can't hold up well is when something looks great in motion. And I don't mean that by like how it flows or drapes. I'm talking like, oh, you got some fabric that like sparkles in a specific way, because like that is super hard to photograph and capture. That
so with two-tone fabric, like a shot silk, I will sometimes take a photo and see what it shows up as, because like that can look different. sometimes. Or sometimes we'll put everything together and kind of take a picture and see what it looks like on film. Not to color match, but just to kind of see. I think if you're using good enough fabrics, they're generally going to photograph correctly. Like if you have a shitty satin, I think all bets are off.
But that doesn't look good in real life either.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like a Party City wig. I think like, because I get this question a lot, actually, just randomly. And usually the general rule of thumb I try to give is that just make sure that there's visual contrast. Like you want visual contrast in real life anyway. Like I think a really good example, weird example, is Sora's new pirate outfit for Pirates of the Caribbean and Kingdom Hearts 3. The whole thing is made out of different like textures of like, I don't know what the correct terms are, like leather and like animal skin and stuff, but all the colors are black. So there's no like really any differentiating tones of black, but it's the mixture of textures that make it interesting, like in real life and in the game. So it's like if you were putting that together, like you wouldn't choose like one textured like leather or pleather or whatever you want to work with and then just like orient it differently so that the grains go different ways. Like you would try and choose like multiple different textures to make it look interesting. Like my thing is like if there's no contrast in real life, it's not going to be contrast in camera either.
Yeah, I think taking a test photo can help you. If you're like on the fence, you're like, oh, I can't tell if this is going to look good. Like taking a photo can kind of solidify that. So like when I was making that, I had all of these textures and I was looking at it and I was just, because it's all freaking black. And I was looking and I was just like, oh, I don't know if this is enough. Can you really tell? And I took a photo and it's just like, nah, it just looks freaking black on the camera.
Yep.
And so then I added like a wash of something on top to try and make it pop more. So I think it can help, but I don't think you need to assume that what it looks like in real life is going to be wildly different from the camera. It might just emphasize or draw or flatten it a little bit.
Yeah, honestly, like I said, if it's flat in real life, it's probably going to be flat on camera. So I think as long as you keep that in mind, if there's some kind of contrast either from texture or color or like how you layer things, like that's more than enough usually, I feel like, for a costume.
And most of the time it's like costumes that are mostly one color that you really have to all white,
you know what?
Black.
You know what?
All white sucks.
Makeup to arm socks will photograph differently because like your skin is not a flat surface. So sometimes
what do you mean?
Yeah.
Well, okay. So you know how like if you're doing a body paint.
And then color gloves.
Okay, yeah.
Arm socks? What are you talking about?
Yeah, so like because the arm sock is like a flat surface, a solid surface, and then the skin is has all the depth. Photography, I think, will really emphasize the difference between those two things.
They do. I honestly didn't know what you were trying to say.
Now that I understand, I'm like, oh yeah. That perfectly makes sense because
that they wear on their arms.
Yeah, and I mean unfortunately there ain't nothing you can do about it because you're gonna walk around mismatched in real life, you're gonna walk around mismatched on the camera, and I think unfortunately that just has to fall to the photographer to understand that like can't do nothing. The skin is translucent. Sorry.
Honestly, usually at least for me, the arm and the body paint, like on your face, for example, is separated enough that you really, if you just do a little bit editing to like the skin, for example, like
it's easy enough to color match if you like. That's not very difficult.
Yeah,
even if the colors are close to similar. If they're close to similar, it's easy enough. Like if they're very different, maybe they're a little hard. But like, you can make it work. Not too bad. You're at least mildly competent.
If you can't work on it.
We get another question from Photography Bonsai. Keep those questions coming, guys. Which is thoughts on private photo shoots during COVID situation. I know you two had kind of your situation, so I don't know if you want to recap that at all in case anyone wasn't watching.
Sure. I mean, my take is if you are isolating and your photographer is isolating, you are both isolating. And if you want to be in a pod together, I don't see any problem with that. Like we are doing that with our friend who also happens to be a photographer. But I mean, you obviously have to be careful and know that person well. If it's somebody who's not doing that and is outside of your pod, I think you need to be responsible and social distance. Yeah. So I know some people have been doing long range shooting, like where they stay 8 feet apart. That seems totally fine to me personally.
Yeah.
Alternatively, like if you have the means to get a test ahead of time, go for it. But like I know the turnaround for that is like not great, so that's probably not a very feasible option.
I think it's also just setting like Andrew, I know we talked about this I think on last stream, that I think as long as you're fully understanding like the risks that you're taking by doing a photo shoot with people that you don't immediately like are doing the same quarantine measures as you. Like, so like a few weeks ago, I helped a coworker photograph some shoes that she's been like custom painting, but like we both have been quarantined because we work at the same job. And we both been quarantined the same way. She's also immunocompromised, so I know for a fact she's even being more paranoid about it than I am. So we felt, but also we were more than 6 feet apart, wearing masks, and we were outside in fucking 90-degree heat, whatever. Anyway, but we trusted each other enough because we knew that we were quarantining in the same means that it was okay. But like, I mean, truth be told, like, I would be a little wary to meet up with Andrew, to be honest, for shoot, because he lives with, his wife, who I don't know how she's doing. I mean, I trust that they're obviously being safe, but like,
I would put it this way: she's being safe for now, but there's going to be situations.
But she's going to school soon.
Yeah, there's going to be situations that change, and going to be situations that force
us
to. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of people who don't really have a choice.
Yeah, and I think the thing is to just try and fully grasp, like, one, is this photo shoot worth it for you? Like what do you get? Like, how badly do you want this? How badly do you need this? Like, and if it's not something that you're like, holy crap, I need it, like, maybe don't. And also understanding all the implications that comes around it. Like, for someone like me who, like, a lot of the people that I want to shoot don't live close, so like I would have to drive multiple hours to go shoot them. And
see you tomorrow.
Yeah, all the extra things that come in with that, where it's just like, well, okay, where are we getting food? How are we handling that and being safe about it? Where are we eating this food? I don't know about you guys, but I think eating inside of a restaurant is insane.
You're not allowed to do that here.
Oh, you're not? Well.
Oh, really?
No.
In my area,
I wish we were smart.
Fucking idiots, and we eat in. People can eat inside of restaurants, which is just
same.
We're very fortunate because New England is like going, except for Rhode Island, who apparently is just hog ass wild.
Rhode Island,
I am not surprised. Rhode
Island is like the Tennessee of the North.
Yeah, Rhode Island. New England has just not been playing around. And honestly, I wonder if we're going to take away the most recent phase because they went to phase 3 and the cases are starting to go up. So I really wonder if they're going to go back a step. So if it also just really depends on where you are, I think.
No, totally. And can you do a shoot away from people? Because, like, chances are, unless, as someone said earlier, Ikari said, unless you're doing like a Kakashi cosplay where your cosplayer is wearing a mask.
Shut up.
If you're gonna be around other people and you can't wear a mask as the cosplayer, like, you probably need to be someplace where there aren't going to be other people, like, conceivably nearby.
Right. It's like even though you're taking the proper measure, it doesn't mean like freaking bimbo 1 through 20 around you are doing anything remotely responsible. I don't know. I'm with you, Andrew. I think if it's absolutely not a dire necessity, don't do it.
Akari put
Especially
this.
don't do it inside. Oh my god.
Akari put
I've
this
seen
statement.
Some people do shoes inside.
Oh yeah, fuck. No, I wasn't even thinking about that. That's stupid. Don't do it inside.
I see people do it on a daily, and it drives me
Akari put
crazy.
something great in chat, which is I think of it totally valid. It says, "Are you willing to possibly catch COVID-19 for this photo shoot?" Like, if the answer is yes, then go for it. But if you don't want to catch it, probably shouldn't do it. And that's kind of my viewpoint. Is like, if you're going to do it, think about how much you want it, and if you really do want it, just be as safe as possible about it. Like, understand that, like, I know Lou had posted, like, what kind of lens should I use to stay far apart, and I'm like, I think
70-200.
70-200, I think that's part of it, but I think also the understanding, too, where it's just like, well, you know, yeah, you can be shooting far away, but, like, what happens, you know, when you want to show the cosplayer the photo? Like, it's pretty hard to do that from 6 feet apart. And that's stuff that you can work around and be like, hey, you won't be able to really review the photos while we're shooting. Like, you know,
or you can like put the camera here, someone walks up and gets it, and then you gotta fucking sanitize it. Also, I'm paranoid.
So like all of these are things that need to be considered, is what I'm saying. Is like there's ways around all of it. But like if you don't plan ahead for those possibilities, it's so easy to just screw up and, you know, not just fall off of it for just you know, like a slight second or something like that.
Well, yeah, because we're going back to a routine basically where we're familiar with being comfortable with one another, but like you can't. It's like, as much as I trust like my friends and that they're taking the proper measures to stay safe and whatever, I could slip up. Who knows? Like, what if Andrew touched a doorknob and like one part of his hand like wasn't sanitized, and I don't know, I touched his camera. Like, I mean, it's like I said, this is like,
you forget the one time.
I'm going crazy, but
and I think, to me, it's never been about not trusting other people or my friends, but knowing that trust has nothing to do with it. Like, I think that's an important part. Like, it's not that I don't trust or do trust some people. It's just that this is all a game of chances, and chances are someone that is being safe is gonna fuck up anyways. So, the less chances that you put yourself in the line of getting, the better off you're gonna be.
I think that being said, though, like I know some people really rely on photo shoots for money, and that's totally okay. But I think, unfortunately, now it's like, because we're changing our shoot methods within this pandemic, I think in terms of like what you're like sharing on social, I mean, this is just me, so I mean, this is probably a personal preference, but like, I think just exercising, like showing the safety precautions that you're taking. Like, I'll see photos like behind the scenes or like selfies being like, oh, just finished a shoot with this person, but like they're really close in proximity and they're not wearing a mask, or there's like really no presence of any kind of like PPE or mentioning of social distancing or like anything like that. I think as long as you just continue to say like, hey, we did this photo shoot, but like also we took the proper safety precautions to make sure that what we did was safe.
Context,
at least the most safe that it can be.
Context is incredibly important, and in this weird age of social media, if you don't explicitly say something, people are going to make assumptions. Even if you do explicitly say something, people are going to make assumptions. So sometimes you have to be extra heavy about it. I remember this was back in May when ASEN would have happened. I shared some photos of previous ASENs, and I got a message from my sister. She's a medical professional, and was like, she just didn't pay attention to what it was and just saw photos of me in crowded area and was like, what the hell are you doing? And I'm like, no, those were not from this year. Those were from previous years. But like if people don't explicitly know that, they are going to assume these things, and it can get a little. It depends how much you care about too, whether or not people have these assumptions about you. But I think,
honestly,
it's a whole.
I don't think it matters. You have a following. I'm guaranteed that you have younger people following you who are getting some kind of impression from what you're doing. So, like, I don't know. I'm of the mind that I have a following of some kind. Therefore, there's going to be a small percentage that is going to take what I'm doing seriously. And if I'm, for a split second in this shitstorm of 2020, I'm doing something stupid, like, I don't know. I don't want to be responsible for that.
Yep. No, that's fair.
I'm just saying.
I think people don't read, and I do think people make a lot of assumptions.
Those are both
because it's fun and cool to have a hot take.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, if they don't read, that's their problem. I don't care.
Yeah, but
Yep.
I at least tried.
Yeah.
That's what matters.
Yeah, I don't think I would book just like a shoot to have a shoot, but everybody's been locked in their houses so long. I think if you are already doing limited social contact with one person and you guys have figured out how to be safe to do that, incorporating an outdoor shoot into that like already existing like limitations that you've set for yourselves is fine.
Yeah. I just think, the biggest thing is just plan ahead, understand all the different safety precautions you may or may need to make, and just, be as safe about it as you can. Go from there. This is the...
I wouldn't do it if I was in Florida, though. No way.
Fuck Florida.
Keep those questions
coming,
to anyone
guys. In chat.
We got one more from chat, but otherwise then I'm out of questions. So chat, think of some other questions you want to ask us. This one is from Beck Caramel, which says, "What's your advice for being ghosted by a photographer that you for a paid shoot? They don't mind waiting longer, especially with everything people are doing right now, but they're not responding to me at all." That's an interesting and hard one because
PayPal dispute.
They said they are outside of PayPal's protection window.
Oh,
that's 180 days. That's a long window.
Yeah, damn.
Yeah,
that's pre-COVID problems.
Well,
I mean, even if it's post-COVID, if like there's a difference between being ghosted and like, oh, I lost my job and now I'm having COVID problems. Like no response at all. So I don't know if I would recommend this, but I have definitely had friends that have, and it's not a one-to-one because of right now, but they had pictures they hadn't gotten from last Katsu, and then on the photographer's current Katsu advertisement post replied with like, "Where are my photos from 2019? I have emailed you on this and this and this date, and you never sent me my photos." God. And they got their photos 2 days later.
Savage.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, sometimes naming and shaming, like I think at a certain point, naming and shaming becomes acceptable.
Yes.
Like if we're talking over 6 months and they're not replying to you.
3 months is my max.
It depends on how much I also spent too.
Yeah, it depends how much you spent. Depends what they said they were gonna to get them back. I agree with you, Sarah, but I think it depends on the full context.
I think
God.
I think 3 months.
I've been fucked over so many times. I have no tolerance.
It's hard too because back in chat says they understand. I think because they've responded with, "I'm sorry, I booked in November and was trying to be patient." And like, I think I get that.
But were they being communicative though?
Yeah,
I think that's the big thing. Like,
I think they are not. Yeah. I think that they like. For me, I tend to give people the benefit of the doubt, even when they don't deserve it. Sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know what that says about me as a person, but it's a thing that I do. And I totally get that, which is like, well, I didn't want to call them out because I didn't want to feel bad and them be like, respond back with like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm going to get them real soon. I just like, you know, I was very close, but had a thing come up and like, I don't want to have to worry about that with them. So, you know, you gave them that extra time, but now it's been long enough that you're just like, well, shit, we passed the time where that would have been okay or something like that. And you've just kind of, by being for lack of a better term, too nice, you've put yourself in this awkward situation.
I'm of the mindset, and this is only because I've been screwed over by photographers multiple times, and that's, in my opinion, once money is involved, it's a transaction. Like, you are literally paying someone for their time, and I feel like if that's what you're doing, it's your responsibility as the photographer or whatever, you're like the commissioner, whatever, I don't care. Like, you are now bound to that person because they gave you money, so it's your job to be communicative. It's just such basic, like rapport 101. Like, it's such a basic concept that I just cannot even. Again, I'm so sick of it, so I have very little tolerance for like photographers who aren't communicative and are ghosting. But like, I mean, it's better to just send a short email or DM that says, I'm sorry, my life really sucks right now. It's going to take me a little longer to like give you your photos. That is more than enough to alleviate any kind of anxiety that I'm having or whatever about photo return, versus you like not messaging me at all. And this literally could be a copy and paste message that you don't even have to think about typing. You just have saved on your notepad that you just copy and paste on mass email to your clients. Like, I don't know.
It's hard.
I have no tolerance.
The COVID thing is especially tricky. I was also, am in the same boat, waiting on a shoot from October.
From October,
but because the thing.
Wait, October?
Yeah. But my thought was, well, you know, I would almost rather wait until my photographer is in a good mental state to produce a beautiful product that I paid for, rather than push and try and get it faster and have something that is not as great. So that was kind of the thing that I was struggling with. And valid. Then ultimately the resolution was to just ask, hey, what's up? What's the timeline? And then we got a response. So yeah, I think it's the lack of the response that bothers me the most about this story, more so than someone who's just not editing during COVID.
I guess what I'm just trying to say is that the client has every right to message the person that they paid asking, hey, this is like a month over what you said, just wondering where it is.
I think the hard part that she's running into is the fact that she has done that messaging, and she had said that it was marked as seen, but no response. And now you start getting into some hard areas. So I think this is where, you know, I'm going to give some dubious advice. So feel free to disregard it. But I think you have to come at it with the mindset that money is gone and that you likely will never see those photos again. Now that may not be the case, but when you do get those photos back, chances are you will feel more positive about it and feel less indignant.
I have a question, actually. Is this person posting any photos right now?
They said
no, that they said they haven't posted after Katsu.
Yeah, they haven't posted a single thing since Katsu.
Well, you could then this might be like a mental thing you're dealing with.
It doesn't make it right at all, and I think it's a pretty shitty thing to do without communication, given that it is literally this isn't like a fun like, oh, we took photos at a con, oh no, take your time, it was fun. That's like, this was money that was exchanged for a service, and with explicit things that purchase was offering. And when those things are being failed upon, that's pretty.
You wouldn't mail your money. You wouldn't hand your money to Target and then like 6 months later be like, "Oh, I guess my package hasn't arrived. That's fine."
Yeah. So I think the sad part of it is I think you kind of need to just mentally accept that you may never get these photos and that your money was wasted. And I think that's super shitty. I wish on you that was not the case. I really, really do. But I think that's where you might need to be. I think, pay attention to how they come back to social media. If they come back to social media, try and keep an open line. I think the one solid piece of advice I can say is if they do come back, as much as it's not fun, if you want these photos, be civil about it and don't be angry towards that photographer. The reason I say that is because if you start being angry and attacking, the chances of you getting quality photos back plummets severely. You may get photos back that they may suck ass. So,
or they might just withdraw completely.
Yeah. So yeah, it's hard because they deserve probably you being shitty towards them, but that's not going to likely get you what you.
So here's a question from a cosplayer to two photographers. If you guys were having like mental meltdowns and you knew that you owed photos to somebody and you just were not capable for whatever reason of providing them, mental health, whatever. I'm trying to be as understanding as possible.
Yeah.
And the cosplayer was like, can I just have them unedited so that I can run them through Beauty Cam and post them? Like, what would be the response on that? Because the photos are done. It's usually it's almost always the editing that's
yes. Oh, totally.
The hold up here. So like if the cosplayer was like, I don't care if they're edited, just let me have them.
Honestly, I'd refund only because I don't. This is probably like selfish of me, but like I just don't want my work out there. Like I don't want someone to claim that I took the photo, but then they edited it through Beauty Cam.
Here's the thing. I think I would also refund. I don't think that solves the problem though, especially if this is the case of like, hey, you were the one person that I did this one cosplay shoot with, and I don't have a chance to wear it again, or like it's bad or blah blah blah, and not only have they lost out on money, but they've lost out on opportunity. One, I'm gonna go and try and do everything I possibly can to get these photos to this person, because I know I hate that feeling of failing someone, even if it is my own fault, and I needed that mental health time. I would try and fix it best I can. But barring that, I think for me the route I would go is that I would give photos and I would refund, but I would ask not to be credited with those photos.
Oh, interesting. I've done a refund and I've offered a reshoot for one time, because one time I just was like, oh man, because mentally when I was shooting I was not in a good place, so the photos also sucked. So yeah, but I don't know. I don't think I could bear seeing my photos run through Beauty Cam. I'd die.
Yeah. I know a lot of your photographers are.
What are you talking about?
What?
What are you talking about?
Oh, this was like years ago.
Oh, okay. So I was gonna say your character photos are good, Sarah.
I think that's a totally great question though, because like it does put you in the state of like, well, I think both Sarah, you and I would take every step we possibly could not to have to do that. But, this is essentially like, hey, those are exhausted. You don't have those options. What would you do?
Yeah. I mean, it sucks if like the only person they worked with was like you, for example, but like this is also a reason why I try to have at least 2 photo shoots per costume, in the rare occasion that I don't get one of them back, that I'll at least have like one photo shoot.
Mallow brings up a really interesting idea, which I think is kind of a cool one. She says, to quote, "The only other thing I would do is confide in another trusted photographer to edit them for me."
Oh, I would do that.
That is a great response. Like, instead of potentially refunding, use that money that you got paid to pay another photographer that you think is a very high quality editor to edit your work, and that could go and fix the problem. That I think that's a decent path to walk down too. I hadn't considered that at all. Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, I think.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, I was just gonna say we've been really lucky that it's really rare that we don't get any kind of photos back. But I've definitely, like, people in our Discord and people we know, like, have been like, well, this was I spent. Especially they'll spend katsu prices for somebody that's, really supposedly high end, and they're like, I didn't get, or they got one back that was just a horrible. And I feel so bad for them because they essentially have no evidence, sort of putting it on in their backyard and getting their dad to photograph them. There's nothing for them. And at a certain point, it's like, well, I totally get what you guys are saying about the artist, because I also, like, I would hate if somebody took a costume I sold them and then added a bunch of shit and then credited me. So I get it, but at the same time, it's like, well, that person, it's not just transactional. Like, there was a trust involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think that's part of it too, where it's like sometimes this trust is going to be broken, and that ain't coming back easily. Photos can eventually be finished, but even if they do end up coming back, they can, that trust area can be pretty shattered.
That's a tough one, though.
Yeah, no, it's a super tough one, and I don't think there's any necessarily right answers, and I do think, like, Beck, your you kind of are going to just have to move along and see where things go. It's pretty much your only choice, which is probably what you're already doing.
They've disappeared from the internet, like, you really don't have any leverage here until they come back either way.
Yeah.
I had a similar instance like 5 years ago with someone who just completely ghosted me for like over a year. And I kind of just like gave up, to be honest. And I was like, well, I guess I got fucked over for this money and I'll just like never work with them again. And surprise, I did get the photos eventually. But I think putting yourself in that mindset of like, I'm not going to get what I paid for is a better mindset to be in than hoping every day that they'll send you a DM with the Dropbox link.
Yeah. It's terrible because I think, like, looking at this, I think this happens way more in cosplay photography than it does in actual industries, because there's way more.
Well, because I think for a lot of us, it's a hobby.
Yeah.
And there's a very blurry line between being a hobbyist that charges versus like someone who is trying to be like transactionally professional.
Yeah. There are very few true professionals in the cosplay photography world.
That's why contracts are so important.
Yeah.
Like, I cannot emphasize contracts enough because it puts the ball in their court. So basically, once you sign that contract that they've written, it's up to them to follow it. It's like signing a contract for like a freelance project. Like, you would never take on like a real life freelance project without a contract. Like, God, I hope not. People, please don't do that.
Yeah, it's hard. Also, a lot of the times the money that we're talking about in cosplay photography is kind of peanuts in the grand scheme of things. $100. I'm not saying that isn't a decent chunk of change, but the grand scale, especially even for like photography wise, in the world of photography rates, that's fairly cheap.
Just like in terms of the hours that it takes to edit, and I know some people are faster than others, but like, and that's also kind of like tangential to what you're talking about. That's why when I hear people complain, oh, it's not fair that a photographer is picking and choosing what they want to shoot, and they're not just doing first come, first serve. I'm like, well, if you want a true professional business transaction where they take on everyone. Get ready to pay way higher rates, buddy boy, because the reason the cosplay photography rates are what they are is because it's partially a passion project.
Yes, absolutely. That's the
Thank
thing.
Thank you, Regan.
That's
Jesus
been something I've been saying
Christ.
for a while. Like, no one gets into cosplay photography to make money. It may be something that ends up being a side thing, but we're all here because we start as freaking nerds, and no one's jumping into cosplay photography like, I can make some quick buck off of these weebs by charging them for some photos.
I'm not making any kind of fucking income from cosplay photography, let me tell you.
Like, I will say, and I feel like I'm pretty sure I asked this the last time we were here. I will say the fact of what I just said, which is, you know, sometimes photographers don't necessarily advertise, oh, here's my form, fill it out, first come, first serve, or even here's my form, period. I think sometimes that is discourages cosplayers from reaching out to photographers because they don't want to bother them. And they think, oh, well, that's kind of like almost soliciting, and like that's just not nice. So like that has stopped me from working with a great number of people.
Wait, so just so I understand what you're saying. So you're saying that you have not filled out someone's like form, for example.
No. If the form's there, the form's there. I think the form is a different thing. But if someone is more like a word of mouth, like they don't have a form because like they don't want to open things up necessarily and have the floodgates come in. Even if that person is very open to shooting certain things, I think that like I will never message somebody who doesn't have a form.
You know what? You're missing out.
I know.
My take is that the worst case scenario, they don't respond. Or the second worst case scenario, they say no. Like literally, wait a minute. Stop. No, wait.
She was wearing Pura and we saw you at Colossal Con and you went, I love Zelda, come here. And then we went.
No. I reached out before. I messaged you guys.
Oh, maybe you did. Okay.
I did. Yeah, excuse me.
I think that's a huge part of it though, because like, truth be told, like a lot of us are socially awkward nerds to some extent.
I mean, I am too. I'm like one of the most introverted people ever. But like when it comes to this, if I'm really passionate about something, I will fucking ask someone.
Oh, totally.
If they want to say no, fuck it. What am I gonna lose? I literally have lost nothing. I've gained 30 minutes of my time back. Like,
I agree with you, Sarah.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that I don't feel differently when I am presented in that situation.
No, I totally get that. All I'm saying is I encourage people to not be afraid to ask.
Yeah.
Like Regan and Scone are a perfect example. I don't know when we would have formally met officially if I hadn't reached out to you about shooting Pura. Probably because I was really nervous to message you guys. I'm not going to deny that. I'm always really nervous when I'm messaging someone that I, really admire. Like the first, like really big person that I reached out to randomly was Jay Hart when he was at a local con here in DC, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. But I was like, fuck it. What is the next time he's going to be in DC? Probably never. So I was like, you know what? The worst thing, he won't see it, and I won't shoot him. It's fine. But guess what? He saw it, and he said yes, and it was great. And it's been uphill from there. Like, just don't ever feel like as a cosplayer that you are bothering a photographer, because you're not, honestly.
Yeah. I think part of that, too, is literally, like, we get it in our head that, like, oh, this person's a huge photographer or a huge cosplayer, blah, blah, blah. But, like,
okay,
man, like, the scale on all of this is so fucked because our scene is, like, so relatively small in the grand scale of things. So, like, very few of us actually, like, probably the number of cosplayers that actually feel like this is so low, which is to say ones that are, like, oh, I'm too big for this situation. The only time that happens is when it's like falsely being happened because people have like falsely inflated egos. But like, if you like Regan and Scout, like you two are people that like I would have been like, holy shit, like you guys are amazing. I can't imagine shooting with you. You guys are like, oh my god, at the top of the people that I want to shoot with. It's amazing. And then I'm sure you guys would look at it and be like, I don't know, whatever. Like we do cosplay. Like,
well, cosplayers also do this with each other, to be honest. Like,
totally.
Sarah, you mentioned Jayheart, and like the one time, because he stopped going to Katsucon, and the one time we saw Jayheart, we definitely both like went over and just like spaghetti, like just made big fucking fools out of ourselves.
Which Katsucon was that? What was he wearing?
Oh, it was when he was in the Spalia. No, not the Sakizo. The Grand Blue Grand whatever.
That huge gown. Yes.
And we were in fucking Stepsisters, and he was like a fucking foot taller than us.
He's also just tall.
Like it was great. So we were big fools. So like cosplayers also do this with each other. Yeah, the only times I've heard like a very, very small handful of stories about people who do have followings who are more who might be off-putting. But the times that I have personally encountered somebody being, oh, I'm too good for you, happens with someone who has no business doing that when I'm in something that is not recognized. And then it's very funny.
Yeah.
When that happens.
Yeah, I love that when you're wearing like something casual for the day, like or at night, and you see somebody that you're like, oh hey, I love your costume, blah blah blah, and they don't realize like who you are. That sounds so pretentious. But
you're not worth their time.
Then like literally the next day I'll be in my like nice costume and they'll come up to me and they'll be like, I love you. And I'm like, bitch, I know who you really are.
Oh, we love ass kissers in this community.
Yeah. Like that's the thing is I think that mindset usually only applies to people who have like falsely have it in their own head, this huge ego. And it rarely actually has to do with someone's actual skill level or quality level or how social media reach. So I wouldn't let that bother you too much. The one thing I would say, just to pull back from that,
funny.
Yeah, just to pull back from that a little bit, is something I see from some cosplay photographers is this urge to jump to working with great cosplayers right away.
Oh my god! I could just.
This can be problematic sometimes because like I don't think there's anything wrong with that want or this idea of like, oh, I want to ask someone at a con to shoot with me for a couple minutes or blah blah blah. But like I think it's helpful to understand where your skill level is and work with cosplayers around those skill level. There's no problem with reaching up or reaching or shooting with people that are below that skill level in cosplay to your photography skill level. But I think you're going to find yourself growing more and having a clientele that enjoys your work way more when you work with people around similar skill level.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And then the people that like, if you're asking for someone whose cosplay level is around your photography level to go shoot with you and you go do that shoot and they love the photos and think they're awesome and you're super happy with working with them and then you build this relationship and it works versus if you ask someone who's like, a very skilled cosplayer who's worked with a bunch of photographers that, I'm not trying to like bring this as to be like, some photographers are way better than you or not, but like you generally know where your skill level falls and that cosplayer is just like, oh, not really caring about the work you produce because they've got like, 5 other photographers that have shot with them today that are like, I'm quote unquote better than you. It's going to be draining on you. So I guess what I'm trying to say with all of that is don't try to reach too hard because sometimes that can leave you end up feeling in a worse situation than if you hadn't just worked with people that really valued your work.
I mean,
hopefully
I
that
think,
made sense.
I don't know if it does, but I think because I feel like I'm trying to figure out how to say what I'm thinking. So I'm gonna use Jay Hart as an example because he really was like the first, like, I mean, I hate putting cosplayers on a pedestal, but like he really was like the first like super skilled cosplayer that I really, really admired, that I had a 1% chance or whatever of potentially working with him. But I never would have reached out to him if I didn't feel personally that my skill level as a photographer was okay enough to work with him, because it's kind of like how I approach like cosplay as well. Like I didn't cosplay from Kingdom Hearts for years because I wasn't good at making costumes. I still hate sewing, whatever. But I didn't want to do it until I felt like I could produce, because I knew I wanted to make it myself. I didn't want to buy it. It was something that I wanted to do from scratch, and I didn't do it until I felt like I had the skill set as a seamstress. Fuck that, as a cosplayer, to make it. And because of that, I was really happy with what I came out with. I mean, yeah, it could have used like a lot of improvements at the time, but like I felt confident enough in myself to do it that I felt it was the time to partake in cosplaying Kingdom Hearts finally. And that's kind of how I felt with Jay Hart, is that I knew what he was bringing because he had posted his lineup, and I already had a vision ahead of time of what I wanted the photos to be. And also because the convention that he was guesting at, I had been to quite a few times, so I was really familiar with the location. I knew how the lighting was pretty much in any location during any point of the day, because that's how many times I freaking shot there. And so, like, with all of those things taken into consideration, I felt like I had enough, like, ammo, basically, to produce something that I know that I would be proud of, and that I know that he would also be proud of, I think. I think you can, regardless of skill level, you obviously can shoot whoever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
But just kind of go in with the mindset that with people who do have larger followings, they have a bigger pool of photographers to pull from in terms of content that they want to post, I guess. Because let's be real here, they're not going to post everything that they get. And so it's kind of like, don't be discouraged if you work with someone who is bigger or has a big following and they don't use your content. I would just use that as a sign that, like, oh, maybe I need to like work on my editing or like my composition, or like, oh shit, like the photo I gave them is like out of focus. Like, I think as long as you go in with the right
Sometimes
mindset.
they just like got your DM and then they forgot about it. Sorry.
What?
Like, it's like, it doesn't even necessarily mean it's something about your photo. It could just be that, like,
yeah, they could have never even seen it.
They could have never even seen it,
Yep.
or like they saw it and they were like, "Oh, well, I have this one that I really want to post, and I need to post a different costume." And then like they,
yeah, there's just
ADHD,
so many,
you know.
Yeah, there's just so many factors into it. So I actually disagree with you, Andrew. I think you can be whatever skill set you are.
Oh, totally.
To photograph anyone.
I think I said it poorly. Go.
Yeah,
continue.
you did. But yeah, I think as long as you just go in with the right mindset and like the right mental preparation for where you're at, it's fine. Like I said, I never would have asked, honestly, Jay Hart, if I didn't feel like I was ready to photograph him.
I think that loops back a little bit better as to what I was trying to get at, which is, which is to say that I think a lot of photographers try and seek out these better cosplayers or more popular cosplayers to seek legitimacy on some level, and almost in like some thought that like shooting with better cosplayers will help their work grow, which I honestly, shooting with better cosplayers will help you produce better work. Like that's part of it. But
okay, and just to clarify, by better cosplayers, you mean people who like know how to model and know their angles.
God,
I just want to make sure that what you're saying isn't like misconstrued, because when you say better cosplayers,
I'm
it's like
oversimplifying everything here for the sake of kind of like to narrow down this point. Like the idea of better cosplayers is so fucked. Like like no, that's not a thing that I want to push forward at all. Like because that's shitty.
We have enough stupid problems in this community.
yeah. So
from a cosplayer perspective, I felt this same way, honestly. Around, I'd say up through 2013, 14. Like before that, I felt like I was not usually ready to have a amazing photo shoot with an expensive photographer, because what I was making, I didn't think warranted it. And part of that was the cost. And then part of it was also like, I didn't think the correlation between what I was making and the caliber of the photography was really there. It didn't make sense. And so I would usually wait until I had a costume that I was like really, really proud of. And then I would go out and look for like the amazing paid shoot with a photographer that I really respected, because I thought that, first of all, they would like my work more and be more likely to accept me. And also it warranted it. Like, why do I want a beautiful photo of like some nonsense thing that I threw together as a joke? Like, that doesn't make didn't make any sense to me at the time. So I usually did not go out and get nice. Granted, this was also a long time ago when photography was not quite the beast it is now. But yeah, I mean, I kind of felt the same way, and I think that's if I had taken my closet cosplay of whatever the heck in 2011 and asked as an amazing photographer, hey, you want to shoot this thing? Like, that's an odd. I don't know if they'd have said yes. I probably would have been low on their priority list.
Yeah, it's truly a balancing act, because like I don't think any of this is inherently bad, but I think certain mindsets can make it bad. And I think the like what I've often seen is when newer photographers want to like this kind of loops back to what we were talking about earlier, where it's they want to skip the basics, where they want to skip ahead to working with the better the better cosplayers, so that their work can be better and they work with cooler people, and they can work their work can see more spread because they've worked with these people. And that can work, and it can work out well. But it also can lead to kind of a situation where you kind of feel worse about your work in the long run. And I think it also kind of like part of what made cosplay photography so special to me was kind of working with similar people, people at similar levels to me, and growing with them and seeing their cosplay skills grow and my photography skills grow, and connecting with those and seeing how those grow in conjunction. That's part of what has felt super rewarding to me as a photographer, is continuing to grow alongside of those people instead of just trying to jump ahead. All of this is to say that this is a very nuanced thing that I'm trying to dumb down into a simplified point. But so I think, like, a lot of what Sarah said was super warranted, and frankly, what Mallow and Kari and Ara have been talking about in chat, I think is.
I will also say, people do notice if you are a photographer who we have a term. I don't know if this is a term outside of our group, but clout chaser.
Yeah, definitely.
We know if you're a clout chaser.
So people notice that kind of thing, and cosplay and photography is quite insular. And like that's not a great look. And like it's different if you're friends with somebody, obviously, and you happen to shoot them a bunch. Like, there's no harm in doing that. That's totally fine. But if your behavior is such that I did not notice this at the time, but I have been told that we were at a con. We were in the Pokemon wigs, actually, and it was a group of us. And one of the folks in the group was not happy, because she said that what kept happening is that certain photographers would come up to the group and then only shoot me. And that is not a good look, and people
No.
notice that kind of shit.
Oh, totally notice it.
Oh, that's so cringe.
It is cringe.
I feel gross just listening to that.
Here's the thing, and this is hard, but like if you're a photographer who wants to shoot with someone in a group that and you want to shoot with that explicitly one person, and they're in a group of multiple people, and you don't want to shoot the rest of those people, you have two choices.
You shoot them anyway.
You have two choices. You don't shoot any of them, or you shoot all of them.
Right.
And actually, as a cosplayer, like as advice for anyone in this situation, what I will often do, and this is especially applicable like at Katsucon, even if it's not a group where we're a set, like if I'm hanging out with a friend and someone comes up and wants like to shoot me for a video or something, like I will then turn around and say, oh, she's available too. Do you want to shoot her as well? And like in that case, and normally I'm very like, you don't go up to photographers and ask them to shoot you. But like in that case, no, you need to, I think. Because otherwise, like, again, this is a social hobby. And like, that is not a nice feeling if like your friend is getting attention and getting shot and you are standing right there. Like, yeah, you're not in the same group, but you are right there. And like, that's not great. So like if you are a cosplayer and you notice that happening, that's kind of like a thing that I like to try and do at Katsu a lot.
I think it also has something to do with like what your mission or intent is as a content creator. Like if clearly all you're after is clout, I don't give a shit if you're only working with people for clout. That is clearly your goal, whatever. But if you're someone who claims to be like all inclusive and holier than thou, but you only work with people who clearly have a large following, it's a little contradictory to what you're preaching on the internet, right?
Yeah.
That's my problem. I think it's when people's actions don't align with what their online persona is. I don't know. Like, yeah, no, that's exactly it. You fake people.
I think a part of it too is like, I think inherently we know when we look at a lot of people's like portfolios, you can tell who the people are that are really about that clout life, and even if they are skilled and have a lot of talent and I don't know, like I just am so not drawn to those people whatsoever. It just feels like why the hell are you here? Like clearly there was something that interests you in the scene to get into it, but what are you here for now? Because like the popularity in the cosplay community is so dumb. Like what do you do? Like what is that gonna get you here? Oh, you're popular with a bunch of nerds who dress up. Sick. Sweet. Look what you've done with your life. If you're not passionate about this thing and you're here mainly for the clout, I don't know what the fuck you're doing.
Like honestly, I don't even like you two. Certain exceptions, but like taking photos is my least favorite part of cosplay. But I really like doing it with photographers because we meet so many cool people and it's like a fun.
Yeah.
Like I like my photos, but like that's the least exciting part is getting.
Like that's not your main goal.
Yeah, I much rather like Sarah when we shoot and we're just like talking, about random shit and like having a good time. And that's what I want to do with a photographer. So a photographer is like literally only here because he wants to get his work in front of X amount of people. Like, what the fuck do I even have to talk to this dude about? And then also it's a lot more pressure because like then it's like, well, I guess I need to like pose good instead of pose like a derp.
And if you're having fun during a shoot, most of the time the shoots you're having fun during are going to be the shoots that create better photos.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, like transition slightly to a different topic, and this question was from Mallow in chat specifically for Cowbutt Crunchies. disregarding COVID to this, so before COVID, what was your expectation from photographers in terms of boundaries when shooting, i.e. touching your costume, reposing you, communicating during the shoot?
I don't give a shit. I personally am. I would rather them fix my garbage than go through the whole shoot and screw it up. I think the more hands-on, the better. Like I've had photographers who will like actually move my arm properly so that it's exactly the right place, and like I'm totally fine with that. Absolutely, especially if it's like I have a tendency to lift my chin too much. So like the corrections I think are very, 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 very helpful. I think the physically moving of the arms is not as common, but that does not bug me. I mean, I think etiquette is obviously ask first. But for me personally, I can't be in a mirror at all. Looks good in my brain might not actually look good on that particular lens. So I want the direction.
Yeah, I think I'm a same, and I'm fine with like my arms being touched, or even like, you know, a hand here to be like, hey, move your face this way. I waist would probably be weird, but it also depends on who the photographer is. But I think that like we're also just the kind of costumes that we do. It's very rare that like, I think I probably would feel better if I was wearing something skimpier.
If I was
in
a swimsuit, I think then it would become that might be a
the costume provides an additional context.
Or also like if it's a dude who you've never met, like if it's like a thing, I think then it becomes just a definite no touching. That's weird.
Yeah.
But the direction, anyone can give me direction out of it.
Yeah, even random strangers. If like, please tell me, because I know that I will hold my neck. I wanna talk to Mallow for a second about the long claws, because that reminds me of when we were at Katsu one year and we were doing the 4 sisters from the
Poe sisters?
The Poe sisters from the Forest Temple. And we like had our photographer and we were going outside and we walked by a lunk and we were like, can we just borrow you? And he was like from Germany or something. Like he didn't even know who the fuck we were or where he was. And he was like, okay. And then we took all these pictures with this random lonk. He was
awesome. A really good lonk.
He was really
Dutch.
It was great. So I wanted to share that whole sordid tale.
You have cosplayed so much fucking Zelda.
I love Zelda.
This is like the first year we've not made a new Zelda.
I have all that Midna fabric at your office to make that hoodie.
We can make a Midna hoodie. Yeah. But that's not a real costume.
It'll be a real costume when I wear it to the bar.
What? We're like we're out of fucking Zeldas. Like there's nothing left. What else are we gonna do?
You design your own.
I still think you should do the.
Oh my god, do a Jinga of the Spirit of the Forest from Breath of the Wild.
What about the Zora band?
I think you should do the Zora from Twilight Princess, the Zora Queen.
Oh fuck yeah, she's babe.
I think there is enough Zelda stuff that you could pull.
Oh my god, the Zoras from Twilight Princess are so pretty.
Right? When we can make a baller like the queen with like the pink.
Oh, I've seen her. She's cute.
To loop back to Mallow's question real quick, I think as a dude photographer, I think my biggest thing is I just always ask first, even if I'm like friends with someone. I tend to like if I'm super close friends and I'm like adjusting their hair, I usually will like just tell them like, hey, I'm doing the thing. But if it's anyone else, like I just ask real quick, like, hey, is it okay to do this? Because like I just don't ever want to accidentally cross a boundary. Like if I thought it was cool,
end of story,
and then I did something and it wasn't, I would feel like a freaking asshole. And I don't want to do that. So I just always ask.
Yeah, we do need Breath of the Wild. I'm reading the chat. Breath of the Wild.
Yeah,
Did
more
you see
content.
my Breath of the Wild 2 design that I designed it and I'm just like, someone not me make this, please.
Can you send it to me? Like right now?
Hang on.
I don't think I've seen
I told
it.
Copycat I'd make her a matching Lonk, but I haven't done it yet.
Oh, it's Zelda specifically?
Yeah.
I told I have dreams one day of doing a group with some friends that's just a stupid cosplay group that is Tingles, but like Four Sword.
That's been done.
But like Four Swords Adventures ones. So you have
No,
all the
I hate
different
it.
colors of Tingles.
We have our friend Giraffe Cosplay is famous for her Tingle outfit. And there's this one photo. So God, this was
this
like the year.
So pretty.
Thank you. This is Scone. You need to find the picture of this. This was like the Comic-Con before we met you. We were all from. It was this huge ass like 12-person group from Wind Waker, and like we went to do our shoot with Sam, which is the first shoot we ever did with her. And we all went outside, and then we just proceeded to act like jackasses for 90 minutes. Like, the proportion of jackass photos to real photos is like 4-to-1. And most of them revolve around Alex's Tingle being a fucking nightmare. And there's this one photo where she's like on the ground screaming, and everyone is beating the shit out of her. But like, it's arranged like a goddamn like the Fibonacci spiral, like the Renaissance perfect spiral.
Amazing.
And then we like ran it through a filter program and turned it into a painting, and it looks like a beautiful work of art. I'm gonna.
Where is it? You gotta find it. This sounds like a nightmare I need to see.
Here, what was the name of that fucking program? It was like.
Well, anyway, you make Zora Princess or whoever the fuck you want, and I am ready.
I don't know. I just want to do all the Zoras. I love Midna. Maybe we'll get like more Midna stuff and too. I don't know.
She's really not.
Oh, yeah, Mifa. Sorry, I'm sorry. Why do I keep saying fucking Midna?
Be Mifa. You can borrow my trident.
Oh my God,
it's totally not to scale for you guys.
I told Mallow I would bring Rudo out for an underwater photo shoot because she ain't good for anything else.
My unpopular opinion here is that Imp Midna just makes me very uncomfortable. I don't quite know why, but this does. I'm like,
I mean,
something about it. Something about it just I'm like, ugh. I realize it's a me problem though. Like I don't want people telling me that like, oh, but blah blah blah. And I'm like, I know it's a me thing. Like, don't worry.
Don't worry about it.
Oh my God, I've got to find this photo.
I love Midna because she's just like takes no shit. And
right.
Shit's all over Lonk, which is the best.
Don't have a problem with her personality, just visually. I don't know.
Fine.
Not gonna try and justify it. I realize it's weird. Okay, chat. You guys have any final questions for us, chat? Let us know because I think we're getting pretty close to wrapping up here. So if you have any final things you want to ask us, do it now. Otherwise, you're SOL. I'll give it a second. While give chat just a bit here. While we're doing that, favorite Zelda games.
Favorite Zelda game.
Majora's Mask.
Oh man,
Majora's Mask hands down.
Oh, I haven't played it in a long time, but oh my God, what was it? Ages of Seasons or Seasons of Ages or I can't remember. I know the other one's called Oracle of Ages, but I can't remember.
I think it's Age of Seasons.
Oracle of Seasons. I really liked Oracle of Seasons. I love Wind Waker. Breath of the Wild is great. I don't know. I've played all of them. It's so
bad.
Even the horrible side-scroller one.
I only really like Breath of the Wild.
That's fine. Whatever.
I've always wanted to enjoy Zelda games. I've always loved their aesthetic and their mood, but I've just never had fun playing them. So
that makes sense. Breath of the Wild's really different.
Yeah,
that's
for me why I loved it so much. Is I'm just like, oh hey, this is like the thing that I've been wanting to get into for a while. That just has been like finally plays the way I want it to play. So
it plays like Skyrim.
Oh, does it?
It's close. Yeah, I would say it's closer to Skyrim than it is to the Zeldas that came before.
Oh my God, Mallow. Okay, so Skyward Sword. I got Skyward Sword for my Wii, but my Wii was like 7 years old at that point, so the fucking controllers didn't work, and I seriously could only play. I like got to the first dungeon, and then I got killed by bats 4 times because the controls were so horrible. And then I was like, I'm not fucking playing this game. I don't care how good it gets.
It's okay. It's the one Zelda game I can't beat by myself because of the Wii Motion Plus. So
I wish they would re-release it without the stupid motion controls.
Yeah, I think that's everyone. Like there's
it literally cannot read my left hand. Like literally, I cannot finish a boss because it calls for like a certain combo, but for it's always a stupid horizontal one. It like cannot read my left hand like at all, and then I'm not right-handed. So whenever I do it right-handed, it goes like diagonal. So my brother always had to finish the bosses for me because I physically could not do it. I was so mad.
I think there's a certain amount of Wii and honestly Wii U games that need to be remastered for current for the Switch, purely so that they can be played without the stupid implementations that Nintendo wanted to throw into them at the time, and you're just like, oh, okay. The one that
that was cool, but
the one that also jumps to my mind is the Star Fox that came out for the Wii U, where you had to play it with the holding the system like this to aim, and it's just like
so bad.
It's like maybe that wasn't a great idea, Nintendo.
Yeah. No, their Wii motion controls are garbage.
So I think this will be the final question for us here. This one's from Ikare, who asks, what is a cosplay you'd love to create but you feel is beyond your ability right now, or just impossible to make in reality?
I'd say any cosplay at this moment because I don't have the mental capacity to do any kind of sewing. Is that cheating?
Yeah, that's cheating.
Oh, man. Well, I'm gonna say it again for the millionth fucking time. Anything from Holic, because those outfits are so pretty. But it's way out of my realm.
XXX Holic? Wait, what is this?
It's a clamp manga.
Oh yeah, XXX Holic. Yeah.
Oh, you said the magic word for Regan.
Hello. Excuse you.
Oh my god, if you make a Holic costume, I will literally die.
I have a fucking friend whose face, like, she has Yuko's eyes. Like, got those very deep set eyes.
Listen.
Excuse you, have you not seen my extremely ancient Tsubasa cosplay?
No! Excuse me? Okay, first of all, Holic
cosplay is fucking clamp.
Holic is not only one of my dream costumes, it's also one of my dream shoots. Like, oh my god, I would love to shoot and or cosplay or both. I don't get my camera on a selfie stick. I don't care. Like,
check out this choice Otakon.
Where are you?
Camera 2005.
2005.
Oh my god.
Camera. Oh god, it's like sized weird though.
Oh, this is
a photo for ants.
This is not a photo for ants. It's huge.
Let's see if I can paste this.
Wait.
No, hey, don't.
No.
Don't. Yeah, do it. Just do it.
Okay. I was gonna say, I'm like, I won't if you don't want me to, but
I know you can do it. So, no, Sarah, I have this whole thread where for some reason I like made a mistake and I was just like, put a like in and I'll post a cosplay, and then there was just like fucking 300 likes. So I'm like, I'll just start posting all my cosplays. So I started in 2000, and like I'm 15 in, and now I'm just like, I hate myself. So I have to go back and update it. So I just started posting all my old shit, and it's all clamp.
Bless.
Oh my god, this is great.
This is
This
like
is so
this
pure.
is
I love
2000s
this.
cosplay in a nutshell, down
Yeah.
to the
Oh
photo
my god, I'm
quality.
obsessed.
Take it like down to the taken in a hallway with terrible lighting with a bad
Oh,
camera.
yeah.
And
I'm
like-
surprised the date isn't in the corner.
Yeah.
What this wasn't digital. This was I think this is I have the physical
instant camera?
on my
okay.
desk somewhere. I found it.
Oh
the
my
other
god,
day.
I'm obsessed.
Amazing. Wonderful.
Yeah, so hit me up about Holic or anything Clamp, because
Sarah, I'm like not joking with you. This is a fucking Tsubasa fucking necklace that I made, and I made 3 other versions for my other friends. I'm not shitting around.
How have we not? Oh my god, unbelievable. How have we not talked about this before?
I don't know.
Anyway, call me when COVID is over.
So Regan Scone, do you two have cosplays you'd love to create but either can't or they're impossible for some reason?
I fall in love with a lot of characters that are like way taller and way beefier.
Whatever, do it
may
anyway.
Not have facial hair, and I'm just like, I don't think I can do this.
So you know, do it.
A cosplay for this Haikyuu group. You know who she's decided she's gonna do?
He's my favorite.
Ushijima. So get ready for that.
It's gonna look stupid, but I don't care because he's my favorite because he's a robot boy and doesn't understand humans.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm obsessed.
I have a similar
like I
problem
understand.
where I want to make mermaid dresses because like that's just like what seems appropriate for the design, but like I cannot wear mermaids on my body. I don't have the proportions. But I keep
Even if
doing it
you, like-
anyway.
Oh, I was like, even if you modify it, I was like, wait, isn't Loki kind of like?
Yeah, why you think that looks so bad?
Oh, shut up! Get out of here. Yeah, all right.
You have to be tall and or skinny. One of those 2 things.
Just get some stilts. You're fine.
You know what's funny is a friend of ours, we met up with him outside of cosplay, and he was just like, what the fuck? Why are you so short? And like he didn't realize that I just wear 5-inch heels with everything.
Oh, do you?
Most dresses I'm in my fucking Suki sneakers, which are 5.5-inch platforms.
Oh my god, I had no idea.
Shoes.
Well, nothing can make me tall. It's fine.
I don't, for me it's pretty much all cosplays. Yeah.
I know your dream shoot.
Yeah, no, my dream shoot is just kind of like, it's more of an idea, like the idea, because it's so extreme at this point. I'll repeat it.
Yo, if people can fucking polar bear dive into the Arctic Sea, I think you can find someone to lay down on the snow.
For those of you who don't know, my dream shoot is to do a scene from the opening of Spice and Wolf, the opening animation where Hodo is essentially, I don't want it to be a sexual shoot at all. I'm not interested in that at all, but she is nude in the snow at night in front of a mountain range, and I want to do that so bad, but like I don't want to Photoshop anything. Like I don't want to fake anything, I should say, composite wise. Like I want to do that in actuality.
What? I mean, technically they could wear like a nude, like
Yeah, like I think
a
you could get away
leotard?
with it. Even just like nudie panties and some pasties.
Yeah, that part I don't have problems
Yeah.
with. Like I like the nudity part, like I think I would feel actually fairly uncomfortable shooting someone if they were actually nude. Like that's something I'd be totally fine with.
So you just need somebody to lay in the snow in front of a mountain.
Yeah, pretty much.
Easy.
Yeah, I really don't think it's as hard as you think.
I've definitely taken photos not wearing a shirt in the snow, and then I gave myself frost nip. So you have to plan accordingly.
Yeah, that's part of it too.
I mean, honestly, like, if you have, like, you know, all the assistants there and you have, like, a car that's not too far away, like, honestly, I don't. Also, as a cosplayer, the weather just becomes a non-issue at some point. You're just like, oh, I'm cold. Oh, well, guess I'll just freeze.
I think this is more doable than you're giving yourself credit for.
I think you just need to find someone who will do it.
And an assistant with a nice big robe and like some of those hot hands things.
Yeah. I think it's all very, very doable. I think it just needs to be very, very planned out. And
for sure.
I think that's like the hardest part there is there's just so much that goes into it that I really, really need to make it a priority for like a single shot. And I don't know if I like, even though it's the dream shot, it's like, I don't know if I want to put all the effort into it.
I think you're just making excuses at this point. I think you could totally do it.
Well, I'd have to travel for it because Wisconsin does not have any.
I actually have a follow-up dream thing because I realize I wish I could wear a mermaid is really counting properly towards that. I have an idea for a cosplay video actually, and I wouldn't even be in it. I want to direct the thing, but I have an idea for a Homura Madoka video that I think would be really, really, really cool. But it would require a huge amount of like set pieces and editing and equipment. But it would be cool.
You should hit up Rescue the Princess. Just say.
So, I think that's gonna do it for our stream here. Thank you, Regan Scone, for hanging out with us tonight. Super fun. Your insight is always awesome, and we love having you on. So thank you guys. Where can people find you and keep up with what you have going on?
So we are on Cowbutt Crunchies on most places. Instagram, Facebook, Patreon, except for Twitter, which is Cowbutt Crunchy, because for some reason there's a 15-character limit. I don't know why. Site is cowbuttcrunchiescosplay.com as well.
Awesome. And then I assume that's you're going to be posting about the upcoming unannounced cosplay competition thing that you have somewhere on your social media.
Yeah, I'd say Instagram is I'm most active there.
Okay.
So Instagram's definitely probably the best way to keep up with us in general.
Awesome. Okay, and Sarah, where can people keep up with you?
Not Twitter. Instagram, I guess. Don't follow me on Twitter.
Awesome. And then obviously me, you can follow on Twitch, where you already are right now.
What's Twitch?
As well as Facebook and Instagram. Admittedly, I've been not nearly as active on those platforms. Most of my content as of lately has been streaming. Speaking of which, my next stream is going to be this Thursday. That's going to be a co-op gaming stream with my wife. That should be a lot of fun. I hope you guys show up for it. I think it should be a fun time. But if you're looking for more cosplay or photography content, 1 week from today, Tuesday the 18th, we will be doing another Costog Challenge episode. If you don't know what that is our stream where we have myself, Sarah, and a guest cosplay photographer come on, and we all edit the same photos at the same time. We have 30 minutes per photo, and we gotta start to finish do it in that 30 minutes, and we do about 4 photos per episode. It's kind of ridiculous.
You should share what we did last time, just so they can see.
Yeah,
I want to watch this. This sounds super fun.
Insane. I just want to watch Sarah edit.
Yeah, it was super fun. And the hilarious thing that we found out was that if we took all of our end results and merged them into a single photo, they looked awesome. It was hilarious. It's just like, wow, this is it. This is the new form of editing. You hire 3 photographers to edit the same photo and then merge all their work together.
The one that was the most shocking was my photo, I think.
Yeah.
Because all 3 of them were so different. I was like, there's no way this is going to work. And then it looked great.
I did post the results on my Instagram. So if you want to see all of our different edits, as well as I am going to upload that previous episode on my YouTube.
Wait, share one right now so they can see.
That's like work, Sarah.
You were doing it literally like 3 seconds ago.
Yeah, but God damn it, Sarah. Why gotta make me do things?
Do you want to get people hype or not?
Not that hyped. I don't want that
Oh
crazy.
my god.
Good hype. Get more hype.
And I'm gonna go
Hopefully my screen share will work this time.
Yeah, I'm gonna go on to here. Let's go to size. Let's hide this. So let's go to profile and let's click on Sarah's one. This is gonna be small because I don't care. We're sharing.
I mean, it's on Instagram. It's whatever.
Yeah, we're just sharing Instagram right now because I do not care. And,
that's what I was expecting you to do.
Let's go like that, and then crop that in because doop doop. Doing it the lazy way.
Oh, sick.
So this was the original photo. This was Neil's edit of that photo.
Oh wait, I need it big.
This is Sarah's edit of that photo. This was my edit of that photo. And then we combined them all into one final photo. That was this one, which
wow.
I'm stunned.
I still don't believe it.
That worked out. So yeah, if you want to see more of that, 1 week from today, Tuesday, the 18th, tune in for that. That'll be here on Twitch. Let me see anything else. If you've been enjoying the stream, please consider following. If you have the means, I'd really appreciate it if you guys could donate or subscribe. It helps us keep going with this. And I'd love you if you could, especially if you have Amazon Prime. That means you have Twitch Prime, which gives you 1 free sub per month to give to whichever streamer you'd like. I'd love it if you could use it here if you have it, but if you don't, at least use it somewhere. Amazon's giving you free money. Daddy Jeff don't need that money. Use it. Special thanks to the audience members that were hanging out and chatting along with us, especially those of you who were asking questions for the Q&A portion of it. Appreciate you guys. You made it a lot more fun to do this whole thing. I love you guys. We are going to raid over to Alexandria Lee. She is doing some photo editing right now.
Oh, yay.
So I'm going to get that raid queued up. But once again, Regan Scone, thank you for being here. Appreciate you guys coming and joining us for this episode. You're awesome. If you have, for those of you in chat that are raiding, if you could spam some Vontog love emotes when you get over there. If you don't have those,
no, the one of me reading BL.
Or that. Or if you don't have our emotes, just any heart emote that you have, spam those. And as always, think about what you put out into the world. Make it a better place. Good night, everyone.
Good night.